Good evening, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Everybody, raise your hand if you can hear me. I can sing. Is that better? Jackie says not to sing. Okay. Welcome to City Council meeting. I see, as usual, the house is packed. We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll please rise, our Brandon Wilson, Deputy Fire Chief, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
It's tough up there. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Individuals wishing to address the City Council are requested to complete it. I'm trying to get loud on this. Are requested to complete a speaker card and deliver it to the city clerk, who is to the left. If you're looking for blue cards, they are here to the left, and they're also in the back. And please observe a 3-minute limit when you speak. Once called upon to speak, please state your name and city of residence for the record. For those of you that are nerds on the City Council agenda, there's been a revision. 10.1, an exhibit was added. I know you all find that riveting. And with that, we're going to move into proclamations, recognitions, and presentations. So up first is Manufacturing Month. I would like to invite Martin Ortega, CEO and founder of Freedom Performance Exhaust, and his team to the podium to receive the proclamation. Martin, are you here? Thank you. Oh yeah, we could like run in place, pose. So Martin, before we get into this, can you just give us a brief history on what this is about and what you're about?
We manufacture performance exhaust systems for motorcycles here in the city of Corona, and we're very thankful for this award. We love our building and the city and all our employees, which live in Corona and help me manufacture good performance exhaust systems for all the cruiser motorcycles.
Okay, so for all you soccer moms out there looking to buy motorcycles, this is your man right here. And the moms won't let them. So Martin, this proclamation's for you. I'm going to hand that to you. We'll take a picture. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, guys.
All right. For a lot of what people don't know is that not only is there a city council, but there's a mayor's youth council. And what they do is they scour the land of Corona and they find the smartest and brightest students. And we ask them to be on the mayor's youth council. And I would like to introduce them tonight if you guys are cool with that. So if you guys will come forward. Oh, gosh. Good luck with these names. Quiana Estrada, please come forward. Ava Matthews. Jenny Peak. Miguel Tiolofo. Adarsh. Is Adarsh here? Oh, that dude skipped out earlier. Okay, Camila Mitchell. Berlin Rivera. Hunter Trin. Angelica Luna, Jaslyn Magtias, Radish, oh, good grief, Ratish Setipali, sorry, Rajesh, Zoaya Mansour, Aria Nawabi, and Mina Shakia. In AYSO, there's a saying that the kids play, the refs ref, the coaches coach, and the parents cheer, and the parents are here. They're cheering. So, as you can see, this is the brightest. If we could all stand in front of this thing, we'll take a picture. And yeah, just come on over this way. Yeah, just stand.
This young gentleman.
Yeah, I slid in. Are there any other parents that want to come up and take pictures? Please do, because your kids are cool. Can we cheer one more time for the Youth Council? All right, bear with me one moment while I get my bearings. That sensitive microphone tonight. Okay, meeting minutes. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public for the meeting minutes?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for the meeting minutes.
Okay, do we have a motion and a second?
Mayor Richens?
I'm on it. Hey, look at that, it passed. We are boring people. Okay, consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion with the concurrence of the city council. A council member or any person in attendance may request that an item be removed for further consideration. Would my colleagues like to pull any items for discussion? Tony? 7.6. Wes?
7.7.
Jackie, 7.8?
I
Oh,
wanted
you're not
to-
done?
Am I done
7.8?
yet? No, 7.8, I just want to record a no vote. And then 7.9, I just had a question.
Okay.
And then I just had 7.14 is field allocation policy. I didn't know if that was going to be, this is totally separate. Okay, all right, that's it. Yeah, so 7.7's no vote on 7.8, and 7.9, I just have a quick question.
Jackie, you want to go 7.10 or?
Nope.
You're good on everything? Okay, Jim? I'm good. Jim's cool, I'm cool. Okay, Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we did not receive any speaker cards for the consent calendar.
All right, do we have a motion and a second? 5-0. All right, up first is 7.6, authorize the upfit of 2 deputy fire chief vehicles utilizing 911 vehicle. Tony, you pulled the item. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Wilson, I was hoping that you could give me a line-by-line description of everything that's going to be done on every vehicle. No, just joking. Just wanted to throw you in the fire a little bit. I just wanted to make sure that we already took possession of the vehicles.
Yes, that is correct. We
Thank you
have.
very much. With that, I'll move, Mayor.
Well, first we need to see what the public has to say about this. And Wes, do you have anything? Jackie? Jim, do you want a line item? Description? Okay. Sylvia, are there any speaker cards?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for this agenda item.
All right, with that, the public session is closed. Tony made the motion. Does anybody want a second? Five zero. Okay, 7.7, grant funding from the California State Library in the amount of $25,799 for the Zip Book project. Wes, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to maybe have Mr. Ellis, if someone from, maybe I'm guessing it's going to be Ms. Finch, to talk a little bit about this program, just because I think it's so awesome. The fact that you can order, if there's a book in the library, or there's a book that you want, and they don't have it at the library, you can order it through Amazon. It'll come to your house. You just have to take it back to the library. It's a great program. I know it gets very good attention, but since we have such a big crowd here today, I want folks to realize that you can put the book that you like in the library. Thank you.
Sure thing, Donna.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Speak. So you said a lot about the program already. It's one of our most popular programs at the library. We receive funding for it every year through the California State Library. This year, we are receiving a $25,000 grant, which allows residents, if they are interested in a book that we don't have in our collection, they can go onto Amazon, order it through ZipBooks. It gets delivered directly to their home. They're able to keep the book for, I believe it's up to 6 months. And then once they are done with it, they return it to the library, and then we add it to our collection. So it's a great way for us to really expand our collection based off of what the residents and the patrons want to see here at the library.
And Ms. Finch, is there a link on the library's website, or where would that link be where you would know how to do that, how to order those books?
Yes, it is on the library webpage.
Perfect.
So,
Thank
so
you so
residents
much.
can go on there and find it.
Did you have a question, Tony?
That was the question that
I was too, but Wes asked it. Jackie? No? Jim, you're cool? Sylvia, are there any speaker cards on this issue?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for this agenda item.
Everybody's on their Amazon app right now ordering books? Okay. We're making a motion and submitting. All right, 5-0. 7.8, it was recorded that Wes was a no vote. That's all we need to do on that one, right, Sylvia? Okay. 7.9, waiver from section 15.48.020 of the Corona Municipal Code requiring the construction of the missing public improvements located at 1686 Laurel Canyon Circle. I guess they just went missing one day. Wes, do you want to tackle
And
that?
just a quick question, Mr. Ellis, I just had a question about whether or not, and I apologize, I meant to get this to you earlier. The streets in that neighborhood, I just wanted to double check when they were going to be paved, and if this improvement was waiting on those improvements to be made or repaved?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have the date ready right now off the top of our head, but we can
Yeah.
circle back to you with
Okay,
the
that's
figure
fine.
for that.
I appreciate it, because there was somebody in that neighborhood that keeps asking whether or not, then when their neighborhood's going to get paved, and I thought this is a good opportunity, since we have a missing improvement, that it would be time, but my apology for not asking earlier.
No trouble at all. We'll circle back with an answer if we don't have it right
Thank you.
now.
All right, with that, Sylvia, does any other council member have comments on whatever number that was? 7:10, 7:09? With that, we'll declare public session open. Sylvia, are there any blue cards?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for this agenda item.
I'm shocked. Okay. The public session is closed. I think my mom wanted to say something. Yeah, put her on silent. 5-0. All right. You can do a little extra explanation on this. So, number 8, communications from the public. This portion of the agenda is intended for general public comment on items within the council's jurisdiction that are not listed elsewhere on the agenda. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on these items. Please observe a 3-minute limit for comments, and once called upon to speak, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Just so you guys know, because I have a suspicion why most of you guys are here. This isn't the time to speak. It'll be on the next one. So just letting you know. Sylvia, are there any speaker cards?
Mayor, yes, we have 6 speaker cards for communication from the public.
Okay. And then the Parks and Rec people know that they're up next. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, gentlemen and gentlelady, and to the general public. I'm here, if you can put up the poster, please, that brought over. This is the time of the year where I'm the president of the board at the Islamic Society of Corona Norco, Corona resident since 1991, long time. So I'd like to invite everybody to our open mosque day, which is coming up this Sunday between 12 and 3. So we do this every year. We will open our doors, open our arms to the public so we can get to know each other, understand, communicate, and really have a good time and have some good international snacks and food. I hope this is an open invitation to the general public. Well, it's also been posted on the social websites, so everybody is welcome. Bring your families, bring your friends, come and have a good time. It's only for about 3 hours, so let's have a good time. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And those of you who haven't been to an open mosque day, it's definitely worth it. If you haven't been and you're not familiar with the building or what Islam's about, it's a great opportunity to ask questions and learn a little bit about our neighbors and what they do, and they're wonderful neighbors. So if you do have a chance on Sunday, please stop by.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening, council members. I'm Gretchen Dowdy, City of Corona. I'm the president of the Friends of the Corona Public Library, and our Friends group was started in October of 1964, which makes this month our 60th anniversary. 25 Corona residents got together that year to discuss ways they could help the library. The first Friends president was Finis Frazier, who was also the principal of Corona High School. Membership that year was $1, and now, 60 years later, it's only $15. Since next week is National Friends of the Library Week, we will be celebrating those 60 years and all of our current volunteers who give over 8,000 hours yearly to help the library. 8 of our volunteers attended Hallow Weekend on Saturday. We gave out about 500 books, 300 bags of candy, pencils, and bookmarks. One of our board members who attended the council meeting in September invited you to our first children's author event called ReaderCon. We were happy to report that 125 children and teenagers attended that day, receiving a free book and listening to 12 authors. On the 26th of this month, we will have our annual Mystery Writers Luncheon. This year, 4 Southern California authors will talk to us about their books and their writing. In fact, one of the authors lives right here in Corona, and one lives in Norco. We are expecting a very interesting day, and tickets are still available. We hope to see some of you there. Thank you very much.
We need to have you guys at every council meeting. It's the best cheering crowd yet. Does anybody else want to speak? not sports related in a way. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Nice seeing you again. My name is Lydia from Corona La Linda Mobile Home Park, and we're here to talk about RSO, although it's not the day today, but we need to share our concerns about the presentation that was given on September 26. We honestly want to thank you guys, every one of you, along with Cynthia, I think she's here, all the hard work that you guys have been doing. We really appreciate it, but we have concerns and questions about a lot of stuff that is here. One of our concerns is those extra fees that, that are in the program and the pass-throughs that represent a financial burden for us the way it is. I'm on a fixed income, and a lot of us and residents of the parks here in Corona are in fixed income, and we have concern with that. And, we like to bring this to the table so you guys, can think about it and, throw it out there for you guys to have it in mind. I brought, can you put the, thank you. I did a little bit of research. That's a Pomona RSO. And, here we are thinking, is there any way that we can just have a RSO instead of a whole program with extra people and extra money spent from the city and the taxpayers or whatever, may have you. So that's something that to me seems pretty simple, reasonable. We're not against, the mobile home park owners to have a fair return, but are they fair to us? No. Every one of you guys know they're not. They're not fair at all. There's many things. If you guys want to know things about our lives, about the situation, the real situation that happened in a mobile home park, talk to us as residents, because we're the ones that go through it. I understand that there has to be a study. I understand there has to be research and all these things, and we're not against it. But I think that you answers will be better answer from the people that experienced all these things on a daily basis. There's a lot of injustice in our park, in my park at Corona La Linda, a lot of favoritism, a lot of things that we don't like. And some of the stuff that is in this program is good, but then again, there's a concern because then there's more extra fees for us, and it's a financial burden. So just, think about that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Joe Morgan, 2063 Ren. So I want to second some of what Wes said about the open Moss Day. If you haven't been, you should really go. They have really good food. The first time I went, it was like I was looking through the looking glass. I was with some older Islamic people and some older Jewish people, and if you've never really been, they were so curious about each other's religion and asking each other all kinds of, oh, do you do this? Yeah, we do that. Do you do that? We do this. And they were comparing, and they found, everybody's like, oh, it's almost the same thing. We're more alike than different, and you can actually have a conversation about things, and it's quite something. Plus, there's yummy food. So if you have a chance to go, you should go. I also want to second Lydia's comments about the hard work that you guys have done on the rent stabilization ordinance. I really appreciate it, and particularly what the work that Cynthia's done and the thoughtful work that you guys did. And because it was a daytime meeting, nobody saw it, but I just wish you guys would do more of this stuff in the evening meetings so you could see, if you're proud of what you do, you should do it in front of people. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Hi, my name's Alicia Loomis. I live here in Corona. I'm here for rent stabilization as well. First, I'd like to thank all of you for your time and efforts in even just reviewing it and giving us an opportunity. We did receive a copy of the proposed ordinance, and there's concerns in regards to, what we would like, right? A cap because we're the income issue, right? There's seniors who are not getting any larger increases, which we've all went over, so I won't waste our time with that. But I just want to say that on page 47 of the proposed ordinance, it says it may lead to more frequent and/or larger rent increases. This is not what we're looking for. We can't have larger, we're already, in a corner. Many of the people are, one of the ladies in our park is shutting her cell phone off, trying to, maintain her home. There's several other things that are going on. As Lydia said, you could check with us. But what I'm asking is that we saw the ordinance, we did understand that there was a meeting, but it was at midday, which we weren't really aware of. And we would hope that we could come at night, we could discuss it, and that in the same way that they took time to question us and to get the information to provide for this study, that they would also go back over the stuff with us and explain some of it, because when you're saying that you're going to have a registration fee, and then you could have another fee for a complaint, and there's another fee, that doesn't look good for us. Just without the full picture, right? We only have part of the picture. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, Sylvia, do you have any other speaker cards? You're waving in the back, or are you just practicing? Okay.
Mayor, sorry, I did receive 2 written comments regarding the rent stabilization ordinance. They expressed concern, and the comments will be forwarded to you, and they'll also be part of the meeting minutes.
All right, thank you, Sylvia. And with that, communications from the public is closed. And moving along. Okay. Hey, you guys are special. The following items will be taken out of order. 10.1, Parks and Recreation Master Plan Cost Recovery Goals. Donna Finch, Community Services Director, will present this item. Good luck, Donna.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the City Council. So as you know, I'm here tonight, and a lot of the people in the audience are here tonight to hear about our Parks and Recreation Master Plan cost recovery goals and how that ties into the athletic field rates for reservations. So in my presentation tonight, I'm going to be going over a few different items. Just to give you a quick overview, I'm going to discuss the Park and Recreation Master Plan and the financial sustainability strategy that's within the plan that was used to develop our cost recovery targets for parks and recreation programs and services. I'll also be discussing our current cost recovery rates based on the existing fees that we're charging, and provide a background on the master fee schedule update that was recently adopted in May of this year, and how the rates for athletic fields were arrived upon through that study. And then at the end, we're going to be providing some options for the City Council to consider. I do want to note that this item did go to the Parks and Recreation Commission last night. They provided a recommendation, which I will be giving to the council at the end of my presentation. So our ask of the council tonight is that you provide feedback and direction on the athletic field reservation rates. So to go into the background of the Park and Recreation Master Plan, just to provide some history, the plan was adopted by the City Council earlier this year on February 7th of 2024. The plan was developed over an 18-month period. It included a robust community outreach process where we surveyed over 2,300 residents. We also did several interviews and workshops with members of the Park and Rec Commission, the City Council, staff, and different stakeholders to identify a 10-year vision for our park and recreation system as a whole. The purpose of the plan is it creates a unified vision and framework for maintaining and enhancing our parks and recreation system and ensuring our parks and programs are sustainable both physically and financially for the long term. The plan includes multiple initiatives and actions to upgrade our parks, improve our recreation programs, maintain and manage our assets, and sustain our system for the long term. So a key component of the Park and Recreation Master Plan was the development of the financial sustainability strategy. And again, this is to ensure that our park and recreation system is sustainable and long-lasting. The strategy was developed with guidance from a consulting firm, 110%, that works specifically with cities to refine their park and recreation cost of services and systems. The process for developing the framework included identifying baseline measurements for the full cost of providing a program. This includes maintenance, materials, utilities, staff time, everything that goes into providing a program and service. It also helps determine the appropriate balance between how much a city should subsidize a specific program or how much we should offset the costs through the implementation of fees and charges. And then using all that information, philosophy is developed to provide a funding strategy to determine fees and charges for our programs. To develop this specific sustainability strategy that was within the master plan, we held 3 workshops with 110% that specifically discussed this topic. The workshops were held between May and October of 2022 with the Parks and Recreation Commission, and it focused on what they called a 3-legged stool approach to cost recovery. And that included looking at the different programs that we provide and then grouping them into service categories, determining the beneficiary of service for each of those program categories, so who benefits from the actual service that is being provided, and then analyzing the cost of service for each of those programs. So as I mentioned, the first step is to develop the service categories, and this is essentially just grouping programs and services that provide a similar purpose or like services into the different category buckets. So as an example, instead of looking at 3 different programs, say T-ball, introduction to ballet, or music lessons as 3 separate programs, we look at them as a whole as a skill-based activity. And then we group them into a same category with the same cost recovery goal for that category. Through this process, 8 different service categories were identified, and these categories right here are listed on the left-hand side of this slide, and they range from open access services. So these are services that anybody can access at any time just through a drop-in process. It doesn't require any type of reservation or fees. Examples of these types of services would be our parks, our trails, our splash pads. Anybody can just go and use those during the operating hours. And then moving through the list, it ends at reservations, which is more exclusive or individualized use of a facility that benefits just a specific individual or group. And an example of this would be reserving a banquet room at the Circle City Center, or maybe a corporation reserving a sports field at the park to use it for a team building activity or something along those lines. That's a very individualized service. And then the next step is determining who benefits from the service, and then ranking those service categories on a scale ranging from common good services, which are services that are accessible to all and provide a universal value, all the way on a continuum up to an individual benefit service, which again are services that are exclusive and provide a specialized benefit to individuals, and can include certain constraints or barriers to access. So this chart right here shows the beneficiary of service model and where each of the 8 service categories that were developed through the financial sustainability strategy are ranked along that category. It indicates that higher subsidies and lower cost recovery is recommended for the common good services. Again, those are services such as open access, which is the parks, splash pads, trails. Those recommend a 0 cost recovery. Some of the other ones on the lower part of that scale include community health and well-being, which provide for the prevention and remediation of life challenges. Examples of those types of services would be like a blood pressure screening, a vaccine clinic, or our nutrition program over at the senior center. And then signature events, which are some of our larger scale events such as 4th of July, the concert program, Holo Weekend. Those are ones that are accessible and benefit a broad portion of the community. And then moving up the continuum, we go all the way up to our more individualized programs where lower subsidies and higher cost recovery is recommended. Skill-based activities, which is where youth sports related to this specific discussion lies kind of on the higher end of that continuum. The cost recovery that's recommended for skill-based activities is 70 to 90%. I mentioned youth sports is included in that program, along with other instructor-led activities where the primary intent is to acquire or learn a skill. And using this model, it helps to create a justifiable way to allocate subsidies and establishes equitable cost recovery strategy for residents and user groups. So as I mentioned, skill-based activities as a combined group landed at the recommended cost recovery rate of 70 to 90%. But when we actually looked at the expenditures for skill-based activities and the revenue that was being generated for these group of activities as a whole, cost recovery was determined to be 48.56%. And the range of cost recovery for the different programs within this category varies widely. So certain programs in this category, such as our youth sports camps and some of our contract classes, are currently recovering at 100% or above, which kind of brings up that average cost recovery range that we're currently at. But when we pull out athletic field reservations specifically, we found that the cost recovery for that subgroup is much lower. It's currently 14% based off of the fiscal year 24 expenditures of about 1.7 million, and then revenue that was received of 242,000. So the next part of my presentation, I'm going to be discussing how this all ties into the athletic field rates. So athletic field rates and reservations have not been studied in 6 years and have not received a rate increase since that time, which was 2018 when the rates were first established for the athletic fields. In early 2024, the Finance Department coordinated a master fee recovery study, which occurred right after the adoption of the Park and Rec Master Plan. So since we were in the process of getting those cost recovery targets developed and adopted, our staff took a look at what we are currently charging for all of our programs and fees and made some recommendations to help move some of the fees and revenues that we were receiving closer to achieving our cost recovery goals. The field adjustment rates that were recommended through that process are as follows. For Group 2, which is our resident recreation nonprofit group, where we believed most of our leagues were classified, the increase went from $10 an hour to $20 an hour. For Group 3, which is the resident competitive nonprofit groups, these are more of the travel ball and the club teams, more of the competitive teams that we're seeing out there. The rate went from $19 an hour to $25 an hour. Group 4, which is the resident private or for-profit groups, so these are more of like the individual groups, not necessarily the leagues, but people that might be reserving the park for or the field for a one-off use, as I mentioned, maybe a corporate team building activity or something along those lines. That would go from a $31 an hour to $40 an hour rate. And then Group 5 is our non-resident rate, which was recommended to go from $41 an hour to $50 an hour. After these adjustments were approved in the master fee study, we found that several leagues were paying an outdated Group 2Y rate, which was previously offered to specific leagues, not all leagues, but specific leagues that were members of the Youth Sports Advisory Council. But going back through records, we found that the Youth Sports Advisory Council was eliminated back in 2019. However, the adjustment to the fee schedule did not occur to remove that rate from the master fee schedule at that time. Based off of this, we found again that we had several groups that were paying this rate, and the $4 an hour rate going to a $20 an hour rate just compounded that rate increase, which again, we weren't aware of at the time that the recommendation was made. So in addition to our cost recovery targets, which was really the primary driver that we looked at for determining what the hourly rate should be, we also did a market analysis of what other cities are currently charging for their field reservations, just to make sure that the amount that was recommended was in line and not completely out of the ordinary from other cities' rates. So on this chart, we show a list of all of the cities that we surveyed through this process. And although the $20 an hour rate was on the higher end, we did find through our research of the master fee schedules of other cities that there are comparable cities that are charging a similar rate. Examples of those include Rancho Cucamonga, which had a $21 rate for their resident recreation nonprofit groups. Ontario had a $15 an hour rate. Marietta had a $26 an hour rate. Once this market analysis was shared publicly, we received some feedback from several of our larger leagues, such as the AYSO, the Little Leagues, that they were paying a much lower rate or at other cities. And the rates that they were claiming to pay were ranging between $0 to $6 an hour. We were not finding this information in our surveys of the master fee schedules of other cities. So our staff did some additional research. We had them start calling cities to figure out what these discrepancies were. And through this additional research, it was found that these certain leagues are offered this reduced rate through license agreements or recreation agreements, but these reduced rates are not advertised in the market fee analysis, and they're not made available to all sports leagues. So if a brand new league was coming in and offered a similar service identical to what an Everyone Plays Groups league gets, they would not receive that special rate. That the group would have to be under that specific recreation agreement in order to receive that. So again, I just wanted to go back to what our cost recovery is right now based off of what the fees that were being charged in fiscal year 24. It was at a 14% cost recovery target based on 1.7 million in expenditures and 242,000 in revenues. With the rate increase as recommended in the fiscal year 25 master fee schedule, it was estimated that revenues would go up to 958,000. Using that same expenditure estimate that was calculated for fiscal year 24 of 1.7 million, this would bring that cost recovery rate up to 56%. Again, the target is 70 to 90%. So even at the increase that is being recommended, it still would not reach the target goal of the 70 to 90%. So I just wanted to make sure that that is clear and part of the information that we're sharing. As a last note, one thing that we wanted to highlight is that when we were coming up with the fee analysis, our staff tried to do an estimate of the cost impact per participant with the rate increase that was recommended. Again, these numbers are very rough estimates. They're based off of some assumptions, mainly the numbers of hours that each of the leagues reserved for field play, the number of participants for each league, and the number of kids per team. Again, very rough estimates, but we did find that the increase would range from anywhere from $33 for maybe some of our soccer leagues to much higher for some of our baseball and softball leagues, up to $134. The discrepancy is really based off of the nature of play of how these different leagues utilize the fields. For a lot of the soccer teams, we found that the utilization is a little bit more efficient. They're able to run multiple teams on a field to be able to practice at the same time. The number of participants versus the number of hours has a much smaller ratio, so that impact is spread a little bit wider. For the baseball teams, again, because of the nature of play, they have to have an entire field to themselves for practice in order to be able to get a simulated game. And they do require the ratio to be a little bit more for number of hours to the number of players that are utilizing that field space, which makes the impact a little bit larger. So based off of all this information, the options that are being presented for the council to consider tonight range from option number 1, implement the rate as adopted, going from primarily for the priority group 2, $4 an hour to $20 an hour. And then we have additional options 2, 3, and 4, which phase that rate increase in over a 2, 3, or 4-year period. Option 5 is other. There's a lot of different directions that the council can choose to go with this. Again, I mentioned that this was presented to the Park and Recreation Commission last night. They had a very thorough and thoughtful discussion. They heard from many members of the community who came out to speak about how the rate increase would impact them and their families. And they came up with a recommendation for City Council to consider that includes the following aspects. And we did submit the memo that lists those as well, but I wanted to go ahead and read those off. The first recommendation is to pause the rate increase for the athletic field reservations. Second is to separate the cost recovery policy from the field allocation policy, which is one thing that we are doing with the field allocation policy that the council adopted tonight that is not tied to the rates, and that is a separate policy. 3 is to create a new service category for Everyone Plays leagues. 4, set cost recovery goals at less than 50% for this new service category. 5 is if a rate increase is needed to achieve the cost recovery goals, start all leagues at the rate that they are currently paying. 6 is to phase in the rate increase over multiple years. And then the 7th piece of that recommendation is to create an ad hoc committee with community stakeholders to develop a joint solution to this challenge. So again, our ask of the council tonight is that you provide feedback and direction on the athletic field reservation rates. I am happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you, Donna. Much appreciated.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Jackie?
I'd like to jump in as a point of privilege. I'm so sorry. May I make a comment?
I hope you do.
I know we do. But I wanted to jump in and ask, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for taking my comment out of order. I know we usually hear presentations and then we ask questions and then we hear public comment and then we return for council comments and ultimately we take a vote. But in a couple of occasions in the past, council members have jumped in a little early, as I just did. I wanted to ask, Ms. Edwards, how many speaker cards do we have on this item?
Councilmember Casillas, we have 13 speaker cards.
13. And then last night, I think we had 26 speakers at the last night's commission meeting with the written comment and in.
I believe so.
And I would bet, just like last night, there's not going to be a single one that's going to come up to the mic and speak in support of raising rates. So by now, we've had the opportunity to receive updated information from staff to better understand the dollar impact on residents. We've had the opportunity to hear directly from you all through phone calls, emails, petitions, last night's Park and Rec Commission meeting. I want to sincerely thank you for engaging and reaching out. When you share your thoughts with us, you empower all of us to make better and more informed decisions. We may not be able to reply to every single tag or email, but know that your council reads them all and listens. I assure you that you have a council, a commission, and a team at City Hall who listen and care. I especially want to thank our young residents who are here tonight and who've reached out to share your thoughts with us. So thank you. At last night's meeting, we had resident after resident share the concerns. Many shared personal stories on how this would impact their lives. And I know that it's a difficult and emotional thing to do, to come up to the mic and speak in public, have your comments recorded and shared. And I'm not one to typically circumvent the democratic process, but I do wonder if the council may alter the order of operations tonight and maybe share our comments first. I think we may all be in agreement and maybe can spare folks the anxiety of public speaking and a lengthy meeting. As Ms. Finch shared, the Parks and Recreation Commission voted unanimously on a 5th option. And Mr. Mayor, I want to share that I am in favor of adopting last night's commission recommendations, all 7 points. And I wanted to see if maybe we might have a majority for that recommendation and move on with the people's business.
I second the motion, gladly.
Tony?
Are we voting?
No, speak your piece.
So I actually agree with it. But there are some comments that I wanted to make because I did watch the meeting last night, listen to all of the comments, and I second the sentiment. I really appreciate you guys showing up. I'm a dad that has a son that plays in youth sports. And there were some things that I've seen recently and heard last night that I want to make sure that we are at least, that are a part of the conversation. One of which is, I spent the last 2 Saturdays at Mountain Gate while my son was playing, and I saw empty fields that were reserved. My son's game was from 4 to 6, and there were no other games at the same time, and there were no other games afterwards. But those fields were reserved, meaning no other leagues could play or no other residents could play. And I have I'm a little concerned that one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to preserve the fields for everybody to use. I've heard from residents that probably didn't feel comfortable talking in public, tell me that they went to El Cerrito to play on one of the fields, and the fields were locked because they were reserved. But nobody was playing. Nobody was practicing. There was a speaker last night that told us that grandkids are coming from other cities to play in our cities, sports leagues. And that is a little concerning to me because these leagues and these fields are for the Corona residents. Last night, I heard another resident talk about how their softball teams use the fields for 6 months at a time because that's the length of their season. And that's an exclusive use for 6 months. And the challenge with that is that these fields are the city's fields. And I'm not talking about us, the city, I'm talking about you, the city. And they're paying for 6 months of exclusivity, which doesn't allow for any other leagues to play on those fields during that time. So while I agree with the Parks Commission's recommendation, and I'm supportive of it, there needs to be a dialogue between the leagues and between the city on how to best and efficiently use our fields so that it's equitable for everybody. And there was a point of contention last night that I was concerned about where they were saying, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have it exactly written down, but they were saying that they shouldn't be in the same category as some of the leagues that are for profit. And I agree. But all of the nonprofit leagues in the city get first crack at all of the allocations. And those other leagues that are for profit, they get basically what is left over, and that's their time to utilize the field. So I don't want the nonprofits to think that we're lumping them in with the for-profits because you guys get first crack at all of our fields. And when I grew up playing youth sports, all of my practices were at schools. I grew up in the city of Anaheim, so I played, it wasn't AYSO, it was ASA back in the day. But all of our practices and all of our games were at school facilities. And I've noticed that in the city of Corona and surrounding communities that are part of CNUSD, there are no practices at their facilities. And I've had conversations with them, and it's because they can't afford to have their fields completely damaged by sports leagues and not allow their students to play, which essentially a lot of them are the same kids. So there's going to be a lot of work that needs to go into this, and it's not just, I heard you guys got to we have reservations from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., but we don't really need them from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And so we've adopted a strategy to look at that. And I want to make sure that if we're going to move forward with something and we're going to work collaboratively, that it's for the betterment of Corona residents. So that's what I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Les?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you all for coming, and I've watched the last, I think, 3 meetings where I've seen probably very familiar faces here and know quite a few of you in the crowd, and I think I've gotten emails from either most of you or a lot of other folks. So I want to second what Jackie said about the fact that we appreciate the information, and then I think I've responded back to a lot of people that we didn't understand that the increase was 5 times. In fact, I was shocked by it, and that's on me. But I'm very happy that we're here, that I saw the recommendations of the Parks Commission last night and was pleased to see that. And then I'd like to maybe propose at least one more, at least an option for us to look at. As Tony said, I grew up here. My kids grew up here. I played Corona American. My kids played AYSO, Corona Pony, youth football. My daughters played CGSA. And when my family was young, my kids played sports. Having them play sports it was an option that I would always choose, no matter what. If it meant that I had to work extra, if I had to umpire baseball and, on the weekends for leagues out of town, I did so to make sure my kids could play. And it was a big number. I had four children that are playing, and I heard from lots of you last night that have, multiple kids and know that it's a burden. So I want to make sure that when we do this, that we're taking all that into account. I'm happy that we've separated the allocation versus the cost, because I think there is, I think in the initial part, the idea was there were no charge for fields. And we saw lots of that there were empty fields that were being reserved by leagues that weren't being able to be used by anybody else. And I think that, we complain a lot about the state using the stick all the time instead of the carrot. And I think we, probably used a little bit of stick. And I think we'll be able to roll back and use a little bit of carrot so we can make sure we get to a place where everybody can play, that we have a priority for our residents, and at the same time that our fields are well taken care of. And I heard many, many of you talk, and many times I've seen the fields aren't what they're supposed to be. And I see fields in other towns, and I see that we have some places to go, and we need places that we can be better. So I was fortunate enough to purchase a house next to Santana Park, and I could go stand outside my backyard and hear kids, cheer and scream, and it was the best thing ever. In fact, I think it's only the second to a baby laughing is hearing kids, be happy and cheer. So it's really great. So I want to get to the point here, which is on option 5. One of the things that we talked about, this 1.7 million, was for us to what it takes to take care of the fields. And I know there's a lot that goes into that. My point is that if the leagues disappeared tomorrow, we would still have to take care of these fields. I would like to see that amount that we're charging really to bring those fields back to a Corona standard. They had that separated. They're not just paying to maintain the fields, but they're paying to better them. In fact, I think that was the agreement back, and I see Al back there smiling at me. The idea was to bring fields that people were going to be paying these fields. The fields were going to be better. And, frankly, by charging more for them, we're encouraging a more intense use, which actually will tear up the fields more. So, I look at the fields that we have now, being next to Santana Park for 21 years. There's certain parts of Santana that are just, by the end of the season, they're dirt, they're holes, and it's because of overuse. So there needs to be, that's why I was really happy to see one of the recommendations being ad hoc, to come back to talk about how we can have better use of the field so they preserve longer, so we don't have to spend so much. I mean, we have to close several fields down every single year for months at a time, and people break the fence down and they go and play anyway. And it's one of those things I think we all need to be better. There needs to be better on our part, and needs to be better on the league's part to schedule those fields, to schedule more, and to make sure we take care of those fields. And at the end of the time, that it comes back to us in a way that we can take care of it. I look at Citrus Park, after football starts, a month or two in, it's dirt. It's just dirt because there's so many kids on that field that are just, tearing it apart. So I'd like that, at least that part to be put into the recommendations, that we look at seeing what those differences are between the $1.7 million that are spent and what we actually spend to bring the fields back after use. So we can equate what those numbers are and really come up with an allocation that matches that, and we can find ways to add to it to make those fields better over time. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Jim?
Well, I pretty much said my piece. I agree 100% with the Parks and Rec's recommendation. I think it's brilliant. I think it's reasonable. I think that it sounds like, I haven't heard from the mayor yet, but it sounds like we got at least 4 votes that there won't be increases next year, and that we're going to follow those 7 points plus Wes's recommendation. And I feel very good that with all the stakeholders as part of that discussion, that we will be able to keep the prices reasonable. I know that all of us want to keep those prices low. So So I'm good.
All right. Thank you, one and all. I'm certainly lockstep with the other four up here. I do have one request. Every year my kids play soccer, my wife goes to a meeting with the coach, and then she comes home and tells me that she signed me up to ref every game. So if I'm with you guys, if you can get me out of reffing every game, and coaching.
Say no. Say no.
I get both, so I'll scratch your back. I'm just kidding. But, well, no, she does sign me up. I think it's actually a proud moment, your guys' frustration aside, because the system worked. The city came out with a fee increase. The citizens were not happy with it, and you had a place to turn, and you had a place to come, and you're here, and you did. And I'm actually very proud of all of you for doing so, because it's democracy. It's how it works. And all five of us hear you. So we all watched the planning commission meeting last night. So Parks, sorry, my bad. Sorry, Karen. And also Commissioner Olson made a point to email all of us today what was recapping everything that was said, the number of speakers, and he went on for like 10 pages. But with that, you're certainly more than welcome to come up and speak your piece. That's part of that democratic process. If you don't want to, at least you know where we are. And with that, I'd like to open up for public comments.
Mayor, really quick, can I just say one thing?
Except for Tony.
We really do get your emails. Over the weekend, a very strange thing happened. Something happened in the city of Oakland about this is a true story, about a coffee shop. And we got like 260 something emails from people that were complaining about a coffee shop in the city of Oakland. And it took us maybe 5 or 6 emails to go, wait a minute, what does this got to do with Corona? But 256 emails on top of your guys' emails over the weekend just kept ding, 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 ding. So I personally apologize because I couldn't get back to a whole lot of you because every time I tried to start something, 15 more emails about a coffee shop in Oakland came up. But it's a true story. So I want to apologize because I couldn't get back to all of you. But boy, it was a very interesting weekend for us. Thank you.
And for the record, we'll solve Oakland's problems as well. Sylvia, are there any speaker cards other than Joe?
Mayor, yes, I have 14 speaker cards and 3 written comments in opposition of the field rate increases.
Okay, Joe will kick us off. If you feel like you want to come up and speak, you're more than welcome to.
Good evening, Joe Morgan, 2063 Ren. Every time I hear certain leagues, like, I wonder what those certain leagues are. I could tell you what those certain leagues are. It's not really that complicated. The certain leagues are the all-play leagues. This has been discussed in this room many, many times. These are the leagues that everybody plays. They don't turn anybody away for financial reasons. They've got scholarships. Corona Americans said they spend 20% of the money on scholarships. That's the certain leagues. It just chaps my ass every time I hear like, oh, I don't know what this secret little cabal of people that get a special deal. That was in the original field allocation plan. And to hear, well, field allocation is taken care of, so then now it's divided, but now we're talking back about field allocations. The original fee was for the field allocation. That's what the fee was about. It wasn't about cost recovery. It never was. The $4 was to keep people from booking too many fees. If that wasn't enough, then raise it, but it wasn't about cost recovery. If there was cost recovery, it's incidental to the fee. So now I'm hearing that I was under the impression that from 1886 until 2018, we didn't charge cost recovery for people playing in parks. So now this is a new fee. We should not be charging kids to play in parks. These fields are in parks. They are parks land. Okay, so unless you're going to charge a per step fee, mileage fee, like the state wants to do with the cars, how many steps are you going to take in the park? Well, you're bending over the grass, so it's going to be a nickel a step. That's not right. And to have the all play leagues who are accomplishing strategic plan goals. They are doing things that the city is not capable of doing. The city can't run all the sports leagues. The city can't run all of the ASO leagues. The city can't do these things. The leagues do it in concert with the city. They help maintain the fields. The baseball leagues in particular put lots of money in those fields. So you should not be charging them. They should be down at the bottom because everybody's welcome there. This is the all play. These are, people could walk up. You could have a little kid walk up to an ASO game and say, I want to kick the soccer ball. And then we'll let them kick the soccer ball. They're not excluding anybody. This is not skilled league just to say, oh, you're gathering a skill? Give me a break. This is not about gathering skills so they're all going to be with MLS or MLB or the NFL. That's not what this is about. This is a vital public service. This is part of growing up. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Good evening, Council. My name is Felipe Rodriguez, Corona resident. I'm in Jim Steiner's district. One of the things that I wanted to bring up that I missed during last night's meeting was the first part where the cost recovery doesn't impact or go across splash pads or trails. That's concerning. Why not specifically the trails? I live near Skyline Trail in the Orchard Glen community. Years ago, when everything started building up with that Skyline Trail, building up the city as a trails community, the city did not want to put up parking meters. Why? You guys are advertising that you want to be a trails community, having people from out of Corona to come and use our trails. And you said that our parks should be only for Corona residents or specifically Corona residents, but our trails are attracting outsiders. Where's the cost recovery for that? They come into our trails, they trash our trails, they leave trash everywhere. Corona PD, I'm sure you're aware of all the car break-ins over there. Corona Fire, I live there, I see all the airships that Corona Fire has to request for the hikers that get lost or get injured. Where's the cost recovery in that? Technology has gone up so much where you don't even have to install parking meters. You put up a QR code. You mark the parking meters and they have to pay for parking. You go to the beach, you pay for parking. You go to Disneyland, you pay for parking. You want to go into the National Forest, you gotta pay for a day pass. Why is Corona getting away with allowing people to come into our city and not doing a cost recovery on our trails? It's a simple parking all up and down Foothill from Alicia all the way up to Chase and beyond Chase. That's a lot of cars. Every Saturday, Sunday, holiday, beautiful weekends, it is packed for hours. I would think that I would like to include that as part of the option 5 to maybe add that into looking at a different cost recovery that the residents aren't being punished for. We do a cost recovery that every other city charges for parking. You want to come into our city, you're going to pay for parking. Look at Victoria Gardens, outdoor shopping. But if you want to park close to one of the storefronts, it's metered parking. You want to park far away, it's free. But if you want to go close up to a storefront, they have metered parking in Victoria Gardens. So I would like to impose you guys to look into other options rather than imposing it on the city residents to look for another cost recovery as far as the parking meters. We're advertising to be a trails community. Let's start capitalizing on this because we do have gorgeous trails. People are traveling from all around to utilize our trails. Let's capitalize on that. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Watson. I would like to donation to the park and all our things and play for soccer. And then we have to fight for soccer and then we have to fight for soccer forever. And then we have to fight for soccer for many months. And then for all the sports we play for, and we have to get money for all of that. And that's our freedom. It will be forever. Thank you.
Mom, what's his name? What is it?
Bronson.
Bronson, you did a really good job. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Council, for your time and your dedication to this. As a father of 5, I've spent many countless hours both as a coach and parent cheering on my children in various sports such as football, softball, baseball, and soccer. During this time, I have seen my children introduced to these sports and watched as they have succeeded and also learned the lesson of failure. As a coach, I have seen the growth of other children as they have gained courage to face their fears and play the games that they have not only grown to enjoy, but also love. I have seen my children learn valuable lessons of working hard, success individually, trusting their teammates, celebrating the success of their opponents, and the brotherhood and sisterhood that comes a part of being a team. I do not disagree that I do not agree that the classification that Ms. Finch has presented should show AYSO soccer, Little League baseball, and Corona girls softball should be classified as a skill-based activity. Yes, the children learn the skill that they are playing, but they also learn life skills that as a citizen that have played youth sports can attest to learning and the growth throughout my life. In my personal study of the Park and Recreation Master Improvement Plan, I have found that one of the main reasons for this plan is to allow the further growth of parks to be built, including pump tracks, leisure parks, and other sports parks to be built, so that the residents can enjoy the park within a half mile of their residence. As I thought about my utilization currently of the parks in Corona, please note I have multiple parks within a half mile of my residence. I do not know the exact number of hours that I have spent at these parks, but I would estimate it approximately to be 500 hours. I can safely attest that of this estimate, 95% of these hours were to watch my kids at baseball, soccer, and softball. I do agree with Mr. Tony's sentiment that we must look at the utilization and the hours that these sports leagues utilize, and also a further discussion about the Corona and Norco Unified School District to open their fields so that the residents can use the fields when school is not in session. As a certified public accountant, I can understand the need of balancing the books, but I can also understand the effect that a small increase of fees can have on a family of 3, 5, 7, or every family in Corona. I ask you this evening that you take the representation of the citizens of Corona in this building and the others that have emailed you and realize that the raising the fees and the usage of this field will consequently have on the family of these numbers. It sounds tonight that there's not going to be an increase, but I would ask you for future years to also not increase or to minimize it as much as possible. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Hello, Mike Greger, Corona resident for 15 years. Thank you, Council and Mayor, for hearing us out tonight. Like you, Mayor Tom, I've been recruited into coaching Little League sports too. I turned 60 years old this year. Never dreamed I'd be doing so. But we will live much happier and much longer participating in youth sports, even at our age. In my opinion, the health of a community is partly determined by the involvement in youth sports, building discipline, teamwork, and overall healthy habits. And we are here to help the city improve our youth programs by returning these programs back to zero fees. We need to find money in the budget to cover the cost of the public fields. These youth programs allow all children to play, no matter where or what the financial status is of the families. All children play. And those within the teams and within the organizations that have more contribute more. There's a lot of money goes into youth sports besides the registration fees. We take care of the kids. We teach them the game. We teach them life skills. We teach them how to get along. And amazingly, it affects kids of all colors, all races, all religions. We bring them together. They learn so much. I encourage all of those in attendance tonight to start joining every city council meeting. As it seems, as a community, we need to participate in deciding how our local government is spending our money. I'm certain there are other costly programs that are not worthy of our tax dollars. It comes to mind the recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling that basically put an end to this nonsense of urban camping and this homeless crisis that we call it. I don't know how much money Corona's spending on this nonsense, but it's time that we put the money where we need for our communities, for our families, for our children. Some of the damage to our parks is being caused, as you guys know, from vagrants, the homeless. It's time to clean that up. It is time to clean that up and make our parks safe again for our children. That's what they're here. That's what they should be for, the public parks. And for me, I agree with Councilmember Tony. I'm out of time. But yes, we need to look at how smart we are and how we are utilizing, reserving these parks. No doubt about it. We have to be smart about the way we do that. But at the same time, I'm telling you,
Thank you. Welcome.
Hey, hello. Ian Miller, President of Corona National. Appreciate the comments you've made, but it still leaves a couple things unaddressed, which is the job of the city is to represent the interests of the city's residents. Unfortunately, that did not take place in this situation. The only way for anyone to be held accountable was for a bunch of sports parents to get angry and show up to these meetings. How did it get to this? In the last council meeting, it was stated by a council member that all of this wasn't done with malintent. Our concern here is not your intent. Our concern is for the kids who thrive in these programs from all incomes and backgrounds. So regardless of the intent, this decision was made without forethought or care about what it might do to your fellow citizens. Your job is to hold city staff accountable, not rubber stamp. If we were able to identify Appendix F as the rationale for the fleecing of our leagues, why did you guys all miss it? You had more time with this document than us. Even with the 500% increase, you were still $700,000 from making your cost recovery goal anyway. So what's the point of it all? The fallback position I've heard from the council members is that they only expected it to be increased. The $20 increase was only a 200% increase. But why was that acceptable without any input from the leagues? You got rid of YSAC. That was your group that you could have come to. You guys could have contacted us. You never did. There was a 1% sales tax that was passed in 2021 that was supposed to cover the sorry state of our fields. How is this city manager spending our money? Why are you letting him continue to do this? The lack of respect for what we do for this community has become apparent, and things need to change. No fee increase now, no fee increase in the future. Also, I emailed you all individually to invite you to our Fall Fest at El Cerrito Park. You'll see the fields open, you'll see kids playing, you'll see what we do to help this community. So please attend this Saturday. It'll be fantastic. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Gomerick. I'm a resident of Corona, and when we closed on our house a few years ago, the first thing that we did before we even moved in was register our kids for AYSO. I am now currently the Assistant Regional Commissioner for Region 37. I was the one who personally reached out to many of the local AYSOs and sent in the fees that some of the other regions are paying. I want to clarify that some of these regions just got these community service agreements passed or approved by their cities within the last few years. This isn't like things that sports leagues that have been there for years and years and years always had these, and they've just been grandfathered in, and we're not doing this still. These are things that as we make these adjustments, these cities are still allowing applications for this. It's just a process where you say, this is the type of league we want to give these rates to. I have to prove to you that we do that, and it gets approved. There's no reason that we can't create a classification for the types of leagues that we want to fall in that category and allow the leagues to show you that we fit that definition. We're talking about empty fields. You guys did not tell us until after we handed out rosters and after we published a schedule that you needed the upper fields at Santana on October 12th for a city co-sponsored event that then was canceled. So you guys are also responsible for reserving fields and then not utilizing them. We're arguing that the fields are in poor condition because there are so many kids out there playing on them, and then arguing that the fields are being left empty too much. So if you want to go put more kids out there playing soccer for longer on Saturdays, longer on Sundays, what condition will the fields be in then? I'd also like to note that I'm not super familiar with baseball, but I've heard them over and over again talk about the maintenance they put into their fields. We pay for the field striping. Those are our goals at Santana. They are paid for and maintained and replaced by us. So if you want to have another soccer league come play on those fields, we're going to need to have agreements around how are the field layouts set up? Who's paying for painting? Are we going to have 3 or 4 different sets of goals stored at Santana, and what is that going to look like? How much time and where on the fields is going to take to move those goals around every time you put somebody else out there? You guys removed the Youth Sports Advisory Council. I'm glad to hear that you guys want to hear from us now, but I encourage you to reinstitute a council like that, even if it's not monthly, even if it's once or twice a year. Come talk to us. We want to collaborate with you to help the things in this master plan come to fruition. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Sonia Martinez. I'm a lifetime resident of Corona, as well as my entire family. My kids are 4th generation here in Corona. So I'm very proud to say we're a part of Corona in a big way. I commit a lot of time into volunteering for AYSO as well as at the schools. And I don't have a lot to say other than what a lot of people have already said, but I want to respond, if I may, to what was commented earlier. For starters, by Tony, one of the things, kids are coming from out of the city to come play on our fields because their parents and grandparents live and work in the area, as well as they prefer Corona because maybe those cities aren't maintaining their fields as well. And the organizations in some of the other regions, we've heard, a lot of not nice feedback from them. As far as the use of fields, I can't say what you've seen on locked fields, but the fields we utilize are open 24/7. So even though we might reserve the fields from like 4 to whatever during the week and on the weekends, outside of those hours, like Alyssa mentioned before, those are our goals. People come and they bring their own nets and they use our goals. They're using the fields that we leave behind, the striping, everything. It's being used by the public and by other people. So our fields are open. And even during our hours, and we strive to tell this to all the coaches and the people out there, if there's space, we don't shoo anybody away. Like whether it's another soccer organization or football or whatever, if there's space, we leave them be. Of course, if we're needing the space because we're already impacted as it is, then we'll say, you know what, I'm sorry, we have permits during these hours, but they're open. They're never locked and we don't shoot anybody away. And in regards to the field conditions, I'm sorry, what Wes was saying earlier, we started our season with those field conditions. They were not nice and pretty and green, maybe for a week. So whatever taxes are being paid and whatever fees are already being paid, Parks and Recs, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but are not doing their job as is. Whoever that is, I don't know who it is or what part of it, but I mentioned to them last night, I took them aside at the end of the meeting and I said, this is what's happened the past few seasons. This season, the current season that we're in, our two biggest fields that we utilize for our older kids, fences came down the week that practices and games were supposed to start, and there were literally patches of the grass missing because they cut it out or did whatever the process is. I'm not familiar with it, and either forgot to throw seed down, didn't lay sod, whatever it was, but said, oh shoot, let me go do that tomorrow and hope that it's gonna stick after laying it and then having to be used right away. That's not how grass works. You have to let it set and whatever. So I just want to make sure that's a clear picture to everybody. It's not just the field usage that's damaging the field, it's the lack of maintenance currently being done and not being done on Parks and Recs. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is Benjamin Rios. I am a Corona resident. Today, I just want to speak to the report itself. The report is flawed. Numbers don't match up. The due diligence was not conducted when they called the other cities to get the actual payoff. Found out last night, even Ms. Finch said, some of these are incorrect. So why would you bring a report that has bad data and relay it to you to make a decision on that bad data? Who is watching, overseeing the consulting firm and the people that wrote the report? That's the piece that I want to speak to and bring it to your attention. How can that be presented? Yesterday, she was told that all these cities that she had listed on there don't pay that. And yet the PowerPoint was not corrected. So how can we base decisions on data that is wrong? That's the point I want to bring into you. Someone has to be seen, someone has to be talked to, because that presentation, if that was presented in the private sector, what would happen to that person who's presenting that? I just want you guys to take notice of that presentation itself. It's flawed, it's wrong, it's bad data, and yet we're still using it tonight when yesterday it was found out information was wrong. That's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, City Council. My name is David Burwell. I'm a Norco resident. Please don't hold it against me. I'm a parent, business owner, sponsor.
No clapping for this guy afterwards, guys. He's from Norco.
My wife volunteers with AYSO in the capacity of team support, referee, and she sits on the board. I have not been voluntold yet that I'm going to be a referee. As a sponsor, I contribute to our team to the region as a whole, and I also donate to baseball, softball, and other youth activities. I have arrangements with the City of Corona Police Department and Corona Fire Department. My business supports them throughout the year in various fundraising activities. I'm a person who's about numbers. The staff report presented has the same flaws as numerous staff reports, not just in this city, but across the board, that staff reports and consulting firms make regularly. They do not account for variables. Simply put, AYSO currently has a player population of about 3,000 players. The figures represented are based on a 3,000 player enrollment. As many of you know, in the financial world, it's very well understood that the average family is paycheck to paycheck and one paycheck away from financial devastation. These fee increases Could be that one paycheck per year that makes that family decide financial devastation or for the enrichment sports brings to that household. Currently, AYSO has 3,000 players paying approximately $90,000 a year. The fee increase would jump to $380,000 a year with an estimated player enrollment of about 2,000 players. So the jump is going to be extra incremental. At these dollar amounts, it's currently about $7,500 per month AYSO pays for those fields. That jumps to $31,800 per month. That's a very sizable mortgage payment that could be used on private property, that could be used as practice fields and playing fields. And with the AYSO not utilizing the city fields, there's no income to the city. That $1.7 million gets burdened on the residents and it's not supplemented by the outside leagues. Next, we will address crime. It is no secret that many of the parks in Corona have a transient community populace. One of the main observations I have personally made is that when there's youth sports occupying those fields, there is not a transient community and everything that goes with it. Last night, it was a staff report that was presented and not a report from a consulting firm. However, during last night's meeting, staff mentioned this cost recovery strategy was the recommendation of a consulting firm. So is it a consulting firm or is it a staff report? Lastly, my recommendation is delay the increase, form the ad hoc committee, and reevaluate this component of an otherwise great Parks and Recreation master plan. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Rush. I'm a coach with AYSO. I'm going to keep my comments short and sweet. I want to thank you all for taking the position that you did tonight. You got out ahead of it, you heard the community, and you made a decision to go with option 5. Obviously, you're still hearing a lot of frustration and concerns from those in the community because they want to be sure they're heard. So I'd encourage you, as soon as we can, let's get that ad hoc committee developed. I think all of the sports organizations are willing to come to the table, roll up our sleeves, and figure out a path forward that's not only fair for the city, but also fair for those that use the services of the city. So looking forward to putting in the work and getting after it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. My name is David, and I have a really strong bloodline roots here in Corona. My family's been here. My ancestors were born at Prado Dam, 1887, even sooner than that. But I've been a Corona resident for a long time, and there's a lot of people out here, a lot of young kids that are out here, and if you guys spike the park increase for them to keep on playing, like, your guys are gonna kill kids' dreams. Like, there's a kid that yesterday, there's a meeting, he's going through depression because they're worried about if their families can pay for them to keep on playing. You guys are just destroying dreams. Like, kids are out here, like, rather play on the field instead of being home playing on video games. You know what I mean? Like, it's a family tradition for them to come out every Sunday. Every Sunday they go to parks. They go out. I see every kid happy. I love what I do. I had an event this past weekend at Corona Burgers, and I loved it. A lot of kids came out. A lot of kids, the Pumpkin Factory, they donated pumpkins, about 70 pumpkins. And every kid was happy there. Every kid was happy because they were enjoying their times. Their parents were actually enjoying their time as well to see their loved ones happy. But if you guys raise the park increase, like, you guys are killing kids' dreams. Killing them. Thank you guys. You guys have a good night.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Alicia McCoy. First, I would like to say, I think as leagues, we appreciate your presence when you come and say hi. I will also say I've only seen Wes at our fields. So thank you, Wes. We appreciate it. A couple things I wanted to note. Number one, I think it is really important that we acknowledge what was previously said before, but that the leagues were never charged pre-2018, right? I think that's really important, and I agree that we should go back to 0 fees for these nonprofit leagues that are serving the community. It blew my mind when I heard that. First of all, I serve on the board at Corona American. It blew my mind when I heard that you guys were raising, well, you guys, whoever is doing it, was raising our fees to $20 from $4, 500%. That would make our fees go from $20,000 a year to $100,000. And I'm not sure who did these reports. I also agree with the man that said, why are we bringing these reports up here? We shouldn't bring in assumptions to make decisions like this. They should be actual facts. But when we did our calculations, it would cost about $228 extra per child per season to play in our league, which is absolutely outrageous. Next thing I wanted to ask, bring to light is, where is the money going? I would agree with most of the people up here that, we are spending hours and hours and hours. The city of Corona, the parents in this room, the volunteers, we have people that are not even parents, but they're coming and volunteering to fix up these fields just for people on their motorcycles to come ride on them. I agree, we have cigarettes, we have drug paraphernalia, there's all kinds of things in these fields, and you guys are saying about, Tony, you mentioned reserving them. Well, what happens, first of all, they're unlocked all the time, so anyone could really come play on them whenever they wanted, as long as we're not there. But people are coming and playing on them, and we, the leagues, are paying to upkeep them. It's not the city. The city, you guys, I don't know what you do with that money. I'm shocked. I really don't know what you do. I know after 5 years, we were given shade. We were told for about 5 years, you guys can have shade. We're gonna do shade, shade, shade. Every year, every season, we hear about the shade, and it took forever. But we just really wanna see that, what we're promised, what we're told by city council, what we're told by Parks and Recs, that it's actually gonna happen. I think that's my concern, is that we say these things and then things don't happen in the future. Pro whatever that commission is that we're talking about. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Darren Chin, Corona resident. Coach for AYSO, referee for AYSO, and father of 2 that play in AYSO. So the master plan was to do 3 different things. It has 3 pillars, right? Looking at groups and categorizing. And I think we've all come to the conclusion that these everyone plays, not-for-profit leagues don't belong in a 70 to 90% They don't belong in that group, right? They belong in more of the common group, down at the bottom, common goods for everybody. I'm actually an employee of Corona, right? Like, I'm working to keep all of these kids healthy, happy, and learning all sorts of different things, not just a skill of playing soccer. And I know that that's what a lot of these other volunteers are here doing too. So I would implore you to look at us as employees and extensions of yourselves. We wouldn't be here volunteering our time when the Dodgers are on, right? I'm sure a bunch of baseball fans here missing that, so that we can just make sure that you guys look into your own hearts, think about your lives growing up and how much these types of leagues impacted you, your children, your grandchildren, and your community. As many other people said, lots of ancillary benefits to what AYSO and Little League and Corona Girls Softball are doing. Way more than just what the kids are getting. The community is thriving as well. This is what brings people to your parks that you're spending and you're caring about. Without these leagues, how many people are at the parks? I live across the street from Griffin Park. I don't know if you guys know where that park is, or I'm sure you hear all the police reports about it. There are no soccer leagues there. There's no baseball leagues there. There are a couple people that walk dogs, but most of the time, there are people doing drugs. There are homeless encampments. There are cops. So think of us as extensions of you guys, employees of the city, making the place better. And I want you to think about how much these dollars, these little small dollars in your total budget are going to impact the thousands of families that thrive and depend on these types of organizations. So again, thank you so much for your time. I was really impressed by the speed at which many of you replied to my emails and those of my teammates and other people and other families that expressed their concern. And I do know that you guys are listening to us, and that makes me very happy. So I'm a proud citizen of Corona, and thank you.
Hey, Darren, Dodgers are up 8-0.
All right.
Hey. I was going to watch it when I got home.
All right, Patricia, pretend you didn't hear the Dodger score.
Hello, my name is Patricia Bellari Baldwin. I am part of AYSO. I am actually Region 37's EPIC administrator. I sit on the board, but I also have the privilege of being our EPIC team head coach. EPIC is everybody plays in our community. I represent our adaptive soccer program, special needs, disabilities, all abilities program. I just wanted to touch on just a few things really quick. The beginning of the meeting, somebody mentioned their concern was families coming in from other cities. That is a lot of my families. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of recreational special needs programs out there in our surrounding cities. Us, AYSO Region 37, offers special needs soccer. So we do have a lot of families coming in from other areas. So it only makes sense that if they have a player who needs to be in our special needs league, they may register their other kids in our league also, because it just makes sense. To me, I don't see that. Why are we looking at that negatively? To me, as the coach, I'm proud of that. We have families from other cities coming in to play on our fields in our city. We should be proud of that. That should never be a negative thing. We have other kids coming in to our parks to play soccer and to build friendships and all that other good stuff. So I don't view that as a negative. I view that as a positive. We should be proud other families from other cities want to come to Corona to play soccer. I also wanted to touch on, I am not a numbers person. You guys could have shown me the slideshow and I would have just agreed and assumed it was all correct and you guys did your due diligence. I'm one of those people who is just trusting. So I'm coming with a different perspective, and that's kind of like pulling at your heartstrings. AYSO is more than just kicking the ball, playing soccer. If we increase these fees, we are risking losing community service hours opportunities. Just with EPIC alone, I sign off on more than 600 community service hours a year. To add to that, I write probably more than 10 college recommendation letters every spring for our volunteers, our youth volunteers who are on the field. These are high school students who are showing up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning to come and volunteer on soccer. That is so applaudable in so many ways. With the increase, we risk losing scholarship opportunities. Community members will no longer be able to give financially to help our families who are in need, but most importantly, please hear me, we risk losing a bridge to inclusion. AYSO is very intentional in inviting our core teams, our extra teams, our club teams. These are our neurotypical players who are invited to come out on the field. We've invited our local police department.
Thank you. All right, Trouble. The floor is yours.
All right.
And he's a family friend, just so you all know.
Yeah. I've been playing soccer for a pretty long time, and I think it's taught me tons of life lessons. Because not only have I been a player, I've also been a ref, and I've learned how to work with other people that may be hard to work with. And also, yeah, I just think that,
You can point at Tom when you say that. It's okay.
yeah. But I've had a lot of fun with just AYSO in general and just playing sports. And I think it should be an opportunity to all kids. And I think that we need to fight for soccer and just in general, just, I don't know, what am I trying to say?
Yeah, I think the statement was fight for soccer. What did the young man say earlier today?
Yeah, I think everyone just
Forever.
needs that
Fight for soccer
opportunity.
forever. That's it.
Yeah. And I also think that, Tom, you should do more volunteering. It'll be good.
I told you it was trouble. Okay, is there anybody that wants to speak that hasn't spoken yet? I want to come on up, and you can tell me I need to volunteer more. There you go.
Hello, my name is Andrea Atchley. I am a Corona citizen. I live really close to Santana Park. I am a mother to 6 wonderfully crazy soccer kids. We've had many, many nights, long, long days at Santana and Shear Park with my soccer family. And I'm telling you that what we offer as an organization and what these youth sports are far give you our community and our city far more than you will ever get from charging us. We give you guys way more. We are providing mental health help for our kids. Many studies show that participating in sports and youth sports help with mental health. Some of the major issues we have in our city are a result of the mental health issues our community faces. And to take sports away, and especially to take sports away for our low-income kids, is insane. To take away this, to raise the rates and say that this is a skill, this is a skill. It's not a skill. This is for their health. This is for their physical and mental health. So if you want to help the community, let them have a sport. Let them go run around and play so we don't have to give them diabetes shots, so we don't have to give them depression drugs, so we don't have to try and get them off the streets and not be using the drugs in the parks. As a community, our AYSO, we keep those parks so clean. We are in those bathrooms. We're putting toilet paper in there. We are cleaning off whatever the heck the people left behind the night before. Okay? Having us all there, many people have said, having us there and having the crazy amount of people we have there prevents the community from the people we don't want in our parks there. We allows people to come and play soccer on the weekends to come play baseball in a better baseball field than it was before. I urge you guys to never think for a moment to raise these rates. In fact, to go back to the zero. I think you should do a cost analysis. Go back and do a cost analysis of what we lost by raising those rates. How many kids were denied the opportunity to participate in sports? How many kids were denied mental health help? A trusted adult in their lives. Having my kids live at the soccer field every Saturday. And I know there's a lot of kids in our community that are there. My husband has coached for over 10 years and knows kids all throughout this community. And he's a trusted adult in these kids' lives. And some of them don't have that at home. So please do not deny them that opportunity. Let them have ASO. Let them have the Corona National Leagues. Let them be a part of this and do not raise our rates ever. Stop thinking about it. Don't table it. Don't say we're going to have another committee. Just don't do it.
Okay, is there anybody else that wants to speak that hasn't?
Mayor Richens, we do have communication from the public on Zoom.
Oh, yeah, will you add them in? Welcome out there in Zoom land.
Hi, everybody.
everybody. I think this is me. Okay, so this is Vanessa Villafan. You guys know, most of you guys know why I'm not in there in person. I'm like very, very pregnant. So, but I wanted to bring to light right now with everybody there that, you know, it's obviously really important for all the residents, you know, what is going on with our fields. I was having a discussion earlier about how devastating it was to see all the parents and kids fighting over dirt and weeded fields when, you know, we're simultaneously bragging about ripping out our current fields at City Park for a state-of-the-art, you know, pay-to-use water park and cycle studio and banquet hall. And so I'm personally think that is a solution, that we have current space there where we could utilize. I know we don't have control over CNUSD fields, but we do have control over what can continue to happen at City Park. So I just wanted to also offer that as a possible addition to option 5, but that's all.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. Sylvia, are there any other pregnant people in Zoom land?
Mayor, we do not have any more.
Any non-pregnant people? All right, good job, Vanessa. Okay, I'm safely saying the public session is closed. Jacob, are you good on everything?
I think we have to take an actual vote now.
Do we need to take an actual vote? Oh.
The motion is still on the floor.
Okay, so Jim, it's been like an hour since we did this motion. Do you want to make, Jackie, you want to make the motion?
Yes, I, to Councilmember Speak, I think that the ad hoc can address the issue that you were bringing up. So I would like to reiterate, I make the motion for option number 5 as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Commission last night.
Okay, may I just ask one question for clarification? On pausing the rate increase, is it just for the group 2, priority group 2, the everyone plays group? Is that the one that we want to pause and then move forward with?
Was that the specific, did the Parks and Recreation Commission weigh in on parsing out the fee for
They did not.
one group? I think I would propose for everyone. I think we need to figure this out.
I'll second. Was that it, Jackie? Or?
Right.
Just to clarify, Councilmember Casillas,
Yeah.
by parsing them out, most of these folks here are, I guess, all of these folks are specifically the nonprofit leagues that everybody plays. If we pause it for everyone, if we don't break out the nonprofit everyone plays, then we won't be able to increase for the leagues that are for profit.
I see what you're saying.
I agree with.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I apologize.
I would
Then
say that we should-
I amend my motion. It would be a pause for the everyone plays leagues, these nonprofit leagues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's my amended motion. I apologize.
Guess do we need to?
And then, are you okay with that
Yeah,
amendment? Okay.
I'll second it, and everybody here vote, and everybody in your seats vote. And,
I think they already voted.
and then you can clap when it comes. It hasn't come yet.
Councilmember Casillas?
Sorry, I needed to flip over my screen.
She does this on purpose. There you have it. So. And for the record, you guys have clapped more than any other crowd in this room has ever clapped. Okay. You're more than welcome to stay, but it gets more boring from there. All right, public hearings, 9.1. Public hearing for City Council consideration of resolution number 2024-100, revising the citywide master fee recovery schedule and recovery percentages, repealing resolution number 2020-135. Does any council member want a staff report on this item? I think we lost Tony. Wes, you're cool? Jackie? Jim? Okay, at this point, the public hearing is now open. Ms. Edwards, has the city's clerk office received correspondence or speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we did not receive correspondence or speaker cards for this item.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Do I have any comments? Do we have a motion? Can you reset the voting, Sylvia?
Mayor Hitchens, just as a point of clarification.
This, because we just said to change it, right?
That's correct. You did make a modification to the fee schedule in the last item that was presented before you to pause that fee for the nonprofit groups. And so you could submit an amendment to this as a motion that reflects what your last decision was.
Tucker, where were you at when I started this thing?
Mr. Mayor,
I was waiting for the right time, Mayor.
I propose a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-100 to update the citywide master fee recovery schedule and recovery percentage and repeal resolution number 2024-012 and 2020-135 with the condition of reflecting the removal of group 2, the nonprofit, everybody plays, pausing those fees.
Tucker, are you cool with that?
I mean, is legal cool with that?
Dean, are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Dean's
Okay.
cool. Okay, I'll second it, and we'll go from there. Here, look at that, 5-0. Oh, 4-0, Tony's gone. Okay, administrative reports. I didn't miss one, did I? Okay, administrative reports. 10.2, Fleet Purchasing and Leasing Program. Michael Greisinger, sorry, Michael. Fleet Manager will present this item.
All right, good evening, City Council, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor. It's my pleasure tonight, to present the Fleet Purchasing and Leasing Program. The purpose is to receive City Council confirmation on the city's fleet program of a mix of owned and leased vehicles. For those who might not be familiar, there's two different ways we can acquire vehicles, either purchase a vehicle outright that becomes city-owned, or we can lease a vehicle for a 5-year contract. This presentation agenda will have a little bit of a fleet overview, leasing option, purchase versus lease. There'll be a summary and, of course, opportunity for questions. So fleet overview, a little bit about what we do over at Fleet and what we're responsible for. The Fleet Division under the Public Works Department is responsible for procuring and maintaining the city's vehicle. This division ensures the right quantity of vehicles is available to support staff. The vehicles are upfitted with the necessary aftermarket equipment, the right type, class of vehicles provided. Vehicles are available at the right time, and the vehicles meet state and federal compliance. In summary, we acquire vehicles for the departments, the divisions, and we make sure they have them when they need them to be used. They meet the compliance standards, and they are safe. A little bit about our fleet size here in the city of Corona. We currently have 410 vehicles. 229 of them are city-owned, purchased outright. 181 of them are leased through Enterprise Fleet Management, or Enterprise. And it's important to note that all departments and divisions currently lease vehicles from Enterprise. Excuse me. Here's a breakdown of our purchased vehicles by class. As you can see, the 229 vehicles that we have there, they're broken down into 5 classes. For the sake of this presentation, a truck will be considered a compact truck or a half-ton pickup truck. And then we also have SUVs, we have cars, which are sedans, vans. The medium and heavy-duty vehicles are 8,500 GVW or higher. And as you can see, we have several in each category. The average age ranges, and the average miles are a little bit higher than the leased vehicles. This slide shows you, compared to the one I'm about to show you, that we keep purchased vehicles longer. The service life is longer than a leased vehicle. This next slide will show the variety of manufacturers we have. The city does not just purchase 1 or 2 manufacturers. Fleet really works with the divisions and the departments to figure out the best vehicle for that use. in saying that there's 11 different manufacturers currently that are purchased in the city. 4 is the majority of it, but we do have other vehicles, makes and models. Now, as the lease vehicle classes, as you can see, it's broken down in the same 5 categories. There's 181 vehicles. The quantities differ a little bit. Obviously, there's a little bit less heavy-duty vehicles that are being leased or medium-duty vehicles than purchased. The interesting thing about the lease program is the contracts are 5 years. So the average age of a lease vehicle is not 5 years, it's under. Therefore, the average mileage of each category and class of vehicle is a lot lower. Just like with the purchased vehicles, the lease vehicles, we have 11 manufacturers. They vary a little bit, but once again, 4 is the majority, but we don't just lease one certain type of vehicle, one certain manufacturer. And if there is a delay for a vehicle, we spec a vehicle, we get the approval for the vehicle, that manufacturer has a delay, ordering window that we don't meet. With the lease program, we can then go across to a different manufacturer with a comparable vehicle. So it's important to notice if we're gonna lease a vehicle, we're not just tied down to 1 or 2 manufacturers. We have, as of right now, 11 different ones we can choose from. So this next section will be talking about the lease option. So in 2016, excuse me, the city entered into a contract with Enterprise Fleet Management, allowing the city the option to lease its vehicles. Now, there are advantages and limitations. It's important to realize it's not a one either or, only lease, only purchase. The advantages are listed here. The vehicles can be either sourced locally or ordered from the manufacturer. The preferred way to get a vehicle is, once it's approved and spec'd, is to order it from the manufacturer directly. Now, there has been delays in manufacturing, ordering windows that have closed, production has been slowed down. In that case, if it does take a long time, the enterprise company can go to local dealers if the vehicle that we want is there and source it that way. Another advantage is the vehicles can be tailored and upfit to meet all safety and compliance standards. So when we get a vehicle from the lease company, it's important to realize it's going to be state and federally compliant to what we can buy as a city. And it will be upfitted with the safety items the department and division requires. It comes like that already from the lease company. They use an aftermarket third-party company to build whatever we need. Another advantage is the maintenance is included in the vehicle contract or lease price. When a department or division pays a per month lease cost for that vehicle, it includes the regularly scheduled manufacturer recommended maintenance. So you are getting the payment plus the maintenance. And then the lease vehicles, since it's a 4 to 5 year turnover because of the contract life, it keeps the fleets new and updated. The employees are able to drive a newer vehicle with newer standards as far as safety, newer features. It makes the city appear nicer with newer vehicles. And it really does help when you're not keeping vehicles longer than you should. There's an overall cost savings, excuse me, which we'll see in the next couple of slides compared to purchasing or unknown vehicle. Now, there is a few limitations. The first limitation is very important. Not every vehicle is available for leasing. There is a lot of specialty vehicles, especially first responder emergency service vehicles, construction equipment, big heavy-duty vehicles that are just not in the leasing program. So we have to purchase those as a city. Some of the certain vehicle type usage will not benefit from a leasing program. Frontline first responder vehicles, big Vector trucks, crane trucks, doesn't make sense to replace them every 5 years or the maintenance to be included. Another limitation is, like I said before, with the maintenance included, the drivers of the leased vehicles will be getting notified through the lease company via an app or email, and they are responsible, or they help us for the upkeep. So if you drive a vehicle and you get an alert, your vehicle's due for an oil change, they work it out with their department, their supervisor, to go to approved vendor to get the service done. Now we're going to look at the purchasing versus leasing. Right here, we have a snapshot of one vehicle. It's a Ford Explorer. As you can see with the graph, there's two different units. The dark green colored unit was a city-owned purchase vehicle. The department purchased it outright, and it was given a service life, usable service life. When it was done, it was determined to replace it with a lease vehicle, which is a yellow bar right there. Now, across the board, it ended up being cheaper for the department to operate and own the lease vehicle. The first column there is annual operation and maintenance, or O&M. What the maintenance and repair, thank you, excuse me, cost per year for the vehicle to be ran. The second replacement cost, what it would cost the department when that vehicle hits its life cycle to get a new vehicle. They pay an annual cost. When you combine those two categories, you get the third one, which is the motor pool. And as you can see, it was cheaper for the department to own and operate a leased vehicle. The last category is what the city got when that vehicle, each vehicle was turned in and replaced. The purchased vehicle we sold as a city to a surplus company, went to auction. We netted $10,905. The lease vehicle, when we're done with the lease, it goes to the company, the lease company, Enterprise. They sell it through their Enterprise sales, and the $15,342, that's then put toward the next lease vehicle. So the explanation for getting more money is we kept it less. The mileage was less, it was in a better condition. So with this one vehicle, it actually benefited the department. We go to the next slide.
Can I, 1 second?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
go back
go
to
ahead.
that slide?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm going to ask you some questions here. And
here we go.
I hope that it doesn't jam you up. But I'm trying to understand something. So the $15,342 that when we turn the vehicle in back on the lease program,
yes,
that's a credit that they give us towards the next vehicle.
Yes, and in other words, if I'm the department and the yellow column is vehicle A, the lease is up. So I want to get vehicle B, the new vehicle. We will turn in the new vehicle to the lease company. Now, before we do that, we spec out the new vehicle. I want the same exact vehicle as before. I want the new vehicle to be exactly the same outfit. The lease company will give us a new rate. They will put in a down payment of what they think they can sell the vehicle for. In this case, if they think they can sell it for $15,342, they'll give us a down payment credit of about 80%. That way they don't overestimate. That 80% is put onto the next, it takes off the top of the next vehicle. Now, when they actually sell the vehicle, which takes 2 to 3 weeks to sell it, they'll make the adjustment. If they get more money, the lease payment will go down. If it makes less, it'll go up.
So if the lease vehicles have less miles on them, but they're not specialty vehicles, why is it that they have less miles on them if they're vehicles that are being driven for general use on a day-to-day basis?
Some of the vehicles are day-to-day basis, but they don't go far as their job operations. If they just go from the corporate yard to plant 1, plant 2, treatment plants, they're not putting a lot of miles on them.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Yep. And then the one thing that's missing from this chart, and I don't know if it's coming later, is what do we pay per month on that lease? Like for this vehicle, what do we pay per month for the term of the lease versus buying it outright? Because you have to factor in the cost of what we're paying for that maintenance schedule, right? It's basically oil changes. They're not putting new tires. They're not doing brakes. We're still servicing that. Does that factor go into these lease vehicles as well? What we're paying in them to maintain them?
Yes,
Brakes, tires?
and the graph right here will show the annual O&M for the yellow, which is the lease. That is what we are paying outside the maintenance of the vehicle, not the oil change. Everything like you had mentioned, the brakes, the tires, the batteries, that's not covered. That's what the department is paying. I don't have the information what the department is paying per maintenance. It varies between vehicles, and it varies between usage.
But like on this particular car, what are we paying per month to lease it versus what it would cost if we amortized out over the life of a vehicle that we bought. You see what I'm saying? So on this
Yeah.
Ford Explorer, we pay, let's just say it's $500 a month to the lease company. But what does that cost for that same vehicle if we were to buy it divided by the life of that vehicle? So what's the monthly cost difference?
That would be, excuse me, probably more about the annual motor pool. Since we purchased the vehicle outright, we don't have a monthly breakdown of what it would cost. The replacement cost for the slide right there, that's what the department pays in to get a new vehicle.
Can I interject real quick?
Yes.
The graph actually shows the annual costs for what we pay for O&M and actually the replacement cost right there. So if you divide it by 12, that would be the monthly cost. So if you kind of look at the graph.
But that's not the monthly payment, though. That's what I was asking, the monthly payment on a vehicle. The monthly payment isn't $5,600 divided by 12. Right? That's just
That would be the lease payment or what the department's charged. That's the monthly payment and the scheduled maintenance rolled into one. I don't have it broken down to just a monthly payment and the maintenance.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers.
It doesn't, because I've driven leased vehicles for years through the companies that I've worked for. So I understand how the leases work, but I just don't know what we're paying every month for a leased vehicle versus what it would cost if we owned the vehicle. Right? So this vehicle here that we are leasing, it doesn't show me what the monthly payment is.
No, it just shows the annual payment or the annual cost to the department.
Right. So because I'm guessing, or I'm hoping, I should say, that at the end of the term, when they say, hey, we can give you $15,000 back for it on a credit for the new vehicle, all of that is factored into the replacement value versus selling a vehicle that we own.
Yes, it is factored in.
Okay. I think that's information that I personally would like to see.
Okay.
Especially seeing as it's roughly 40% of our fleet are on leased vehicles.
Okay.
45%.
And for the purpose of this presentation, we don't have the monthly cost, it's just the annual cost.
Okay. No, you have the annual cost minus over the life of the lease.
Right.
You don't have the entire cost of the lease, which is kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay.
And we can
then
get,
the next
we can
slide.
get that for you later.
The next slide will be a snapshot of 25 vehicles instead of just the one vehicle. And as you can see, the trend continues. Once again, this is just the annual cost. But as you can see, with this 25 vehicles, it's different than just one Explorer. It's different makes and models, departments, and divisions. We're benefiting for the resale of the vehicles, and also it's cheaper for the departments to own and operate.
Let me ask one more question.
Yes.
Kim, this may be a Kim question. And I'm not going to hold you to an answer right now. Can you go back to that slide really quick? Do we depreciate vehicles that we own?
Yes, we do.
So is that part of this analysis as well on vehicles that we own that we're depreciating and writing off at the end as, in our taxes essentially, and making sure that that is factored into this as well?
I'm not sure if it was part of this analysis. I'm not sure.
Then maybe because I stepped in right as he was getting started, I'm trying to understand, is this just a generalization of our leasing program, or is there going to be a vote that's going to be required of us for something?
I'm just going to mention, I think the genesis of this presentation was, 2 years ago now. We were having a conversation in one of our workshops, and I think the fundamental question council had is it better to lease cars, like per vehicle mile? What's the lowest possible cost to maintain a fleet? Is it better to buy them outright and maintain them? Or is it better to use in this case, enterprise leasing program? So the purpose of the presentation was to circle back and answer the question, what's more cost effective for the fleet?
Do we think that we're going to be able to achieve that in this presentation?
I believe so.
Minus the questions that I've asked about the depreciation?
Yeah, we're going to have to divide a few things by 12 because we were doing a lot of annual numbers. The depreciation, I'm confident we depreciate our vehicles. That's pretty standard.
I'm pretty confident that we do too, but how does that factor into this?
Why are you depreciating vehicles? The city doesn't pay taxes.
Because it's an asset. that
Yeah,
you
all of our assets. But to your main question, we should be able to answer the question, is it more cost-effective to lease, or is it more cost-effective to own and maintain ourselves?
I'm riveted to find out that answer, and hopefully we're able to do so.
Okay, Michael, challenge has been presented.
Okay, accept it. So, on these 25 vehicles, it was cheaper to lease than to own. And we're almost done. But in summary, the vehicle, Fleet works with all departments to determine the vehicles if they need to be purchased or leased. Fleet may directly purchase vehicles, which will be city-owned. They also have the option to lease. Recommendation is to continue to monitor the efficiency of the purchasing and leasing program, and then also replace city-owned vehicles with leased vehicles when appropriate. Having said that, there are times where leased vehicles are a better option. They are cheaper to own and operate and to replace. We get a higher resale value. There is special vehicles where it just doesn't make any sense to lease vehicles. We don't want to replace them every 5 years. We don't want to put in the upfit. So once again, the purpose is to receive city council confirmation on the city's fleet vehicle as a mix of owned and leased vehicle. And with that, is there any more questions?
Michael, I apologize. I don't
you're
mean
all good.
to give you a hard time. I don't think that this answered that question for me. If you go back a couple of slides, I get the distinction between there you go, right here. No, that one. I get the distinction between vehicles that we can lease and ones that we can't. I would assume this truck here in this picture is a vehicle we can't lease. This is probably
It is a purchase vehicle.
we got to own this vehicle. And you keep saying vehicles that we own on lease vehicles, but we don't technically own those. Somebody else is depreciating those and benefiting from that depreciation. So for me, in order to effectively say, yes, it makes sense to lease vehicles that are leasable, there's more information that I need. I think that this fell a little bit short. The presentation was great. Michael, you did a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep.
And thank you for the questions.
Yep. But for me, overall, I can't effectively say it's better to lease than it is to own. There's still some data out there.
And if there's some more information specifically you'd like, we'd be happy to answer additional questions once you've had a chance to, give some more thought to that. And
Will it be in another 2 years?
I hope it doesn't take that long again.
Okay.
And in fact, I can do better than hope that it doesn't. We'll make sure that it happens
Well,
faster.
I think you have some specific questions that could probably be answered very, very easily. So,
I think so too.
yeah, so maybe if you want to summarize those in an
I would
email
be
later
happy to
on.
email.
There you go. See, I know you love that.
Make sure you
Bunch
get
of
it.
questions.
That'd be
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate it. And I'll say, for my company, we have thousands of fleet vehicles, and they are all leased through Enterprise for a reason, because it's cheaper.
For you.
Okay, Jackie? No, we'll skip Jackie. Jim?
I'm good. And Tony, it's past your bedtime. Do so. Okay.
All right. You've been Steiner warned, Tony. With that, our public hearing is open. Sylvia, do you have any blue cards on? You're not Sylvia. Where'd Sylvia go?
It looks like this is actually administrative reports.
Okay. Oh.
It'll be okay, Michael. You're okay. You did a great job.
Thanks, Wes.
Almost there.
Okay. 10.3, professional service agreement with the Corona Chamber of Commerce for business promotion, marketing, and retention services. Justin Tucker, the assistant city manager, will present this item. Good luck, Justin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a pretty simple item. This is an agreement with the Corona Chamber of Commerce, and our ask is that, there we go. It might not work. Oh, there we go. That the council authorize the city manager or designee to enter into a professional services agreement with the Corona Chamber of Commerce for business support and community events. A little bit of background, the Economic Development Department works with many resource partners, and the Chamber has been a long-time partner with the city. Oh, there we go. The button's not working, y'all. Their mission is to promote business advocacy, community and economic development, and serve as a catalyst for improving the community's overall quality of life. Oh, even better, thanks. And so we have a long-standing relationship with them to enhance business promotion, support the business growth. They submitted a proposal to the council for consideration, and this is just a table. There are more details in the staff report, but these are the items that they proposed over some discussion about the city's needs and the Chamber's desires to improve the business community. We came up with a staff recommendation for an executive partnership with a marketing package, the continuation of our program of workshops and webinars for the business community, silver level sponsorship for 3 events at Good Morning Corona, continuing our practice of doing manufacturing visits, hosting 1 annual new business reception, and then our proposal also reflects some of the in-kind service that the city does for the chamber. And so those are now included in the proposal we're putting before you. The rationale for each of these is in the staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you all have about it. So our recommendation is that you authorize the city manager to enter into that PSA with the Chamber of Commerce for these services.
All right, Tony.
Can you go to the public first?
I suppose I can. With that, would like to open public comments. Would anybody from the public like to speak? The old Sylvia, what do you got? Speaker cards?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for this item.
Well, that was fun, Tony. With that, public comments are closed, and have at it.
Okay, Mr. Tucker, can you go back to the previous screen? Listen, 14 different reports from whatever committees you're on.
Not today.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with staff's recommendation, except for the Taste of Corona. I thought it was a wonderful event last year, especially being a first event. And I think that I want to support new and innovative events that really help put Corona on the map. One of the things that I thought was great was that the folks in Corona got an opportunity to take advantage of a lot of different new restaurants that are opening up, especially down in Dos Lagos. There's already more. I was a fan of the event, and I will be the first to admit that I have been critical, especially on some of the events that the Chamber have done and put forth, but I really like the Taste of Corona. So I would add the Taste of Corona into it.
Just a little bit out of turn, I would advocate for Taste of Corona as well. Wesley?
I don't have any issue. I didn't go to it. I think my brother was serving beer at it, so I don't know, maybe I can't vote. But I guess the question would be what maybe we leave that to staff to negotiate what that is. I mean, this is an ask, and maybe we can, I don't know. Okay.
I think, I'd be open to exploring that. I think the staff report says that the $25,000 is for a presenting sponsor. I wonder if there are other levels of sponsorship that maybe we can explore with the chamber to support this endeavor.
So those were included in your staff report? That there are a number of different sponsorship opportunities. The one that was proposed for $25,000 didn't fit any of the categories that were listed in their sponsorship opportunities. So we can take whatever council directs us to.
What would you recommend, Justin?
The staff recommendation is to not
all right.
Sponsor the
Do you have a slide of the of this? I don't know how to use the new system to find the staff report on this one, that we could look at those different options, but I would like the city to be a participant in it. I don't know if we need to be a title or presenting sponsor, but without the information in front of me, and I'm not exactly sure how to get to it from the new screens.
I'm pulling it up. It was Exhibit 4, but trying to find it.
Jim, do you have, while Jackie's finding it?
I wasn't able to, no, I wasn't able to make it. But I did go to many years ago, when they used to have it, and I thought it was a fun event. I'm trying to figure out how the Taste of Corona aligns with some of the city's goals in the relationship with the chamber. I'm not opposed to looking at different options. I'm just trying to see where it kind of lands in, our legislative platform, and, so I guess I just would like a little bit more information on it.
I agree with that conclusion. I'd like some more information on that.
Bobby, do you want to give some more information on Taste of Corona? And try to do it in 14 points.
Correct. So on our last proposal, we had suggested a $5,000 sponsorship, and we were going to throw in up to 4 exhibit booths for different departments throughout the city, because we do have a lot of community. So if Parks wanted to have a community booth, if the police and the fire, and perhaps any other department. So somewhere, I think it's around slide number 695 in your agenda, I believe, is where the sheet is that has all the pricing. So I guess if you would like to add another 5,000, we'd be glad to accept that.
All right, thank you. I'm okay with 5,000. Tony?
Give me 1 second, I'm pulling it up.
I'm trying to find it still.
We're on page 600 and something, heading towards 7. I feel like we need prices, right? Music.
Okay, here it is.
In the background.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Hey, it is in the agenda packet. Oh, caramba, you can't see the page. Yeah, 617 in the agenda packet. So there's a la carte 1,500, Bon Appetit level 3,000, gourmet level 5,000, bistro level at 7. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah, the gourmet level, the 5,000, which includes an exhibitor booth, 10 by 10 exhibitor booth, recognition as a gourmet sponsor, logo on the welcome banner, 10 event tickets, logo on Taste of Corona website, social media and marketing materials, and a logo on the centerpiece tables. I'm okay with that.
Okay. Wes?
I mean, it's really, the support here to Councilmember D'Addario's point is really, it's because it's like we don't need 10 event tickets. It's just a support of this new event and being fans of it. So, yeah, I think it'd be great to have exhibitor booths, but we can leave that up to staff how we do that. I think $5,000 as a support for this specific event is totally reasonable.
You cool with it, Jim? Yeah. All right. Jacob, do we need to vote, or do we just?
When we approve the contract with the addition of the $5,000 for the Taste of Corona, that's fine. That lets us know what we need to do.
Okay. So Justin, do you have everything you need? You're good? All right.
So you're going to vote to approve it with that as amended?
As amended, yeah. Unless you guys want to talk about soccer fields some more. So. Bobby, did you get those other 12 points?
Just one final point. We just wanted to publicly thank Justin. He's been just a gem to work with. We bounced many things back and forth. We had great dialogue, and we're looking forward to continuing the partnership, especially with your theme of live, work, Corona. Thank you.
Was that Justin Tucker?
That is correct.
Are we talking about the same guy? No, just joking.
I just wanted to make sure.
No, he is awesome.
All right. Thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Grace. Thank you, one and all. Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
We're expressing gratitude, Mr. Tucker, Dr. Tucker.
Mayor Richards and Councilmember Casillas, we need your vote.
Oh, we're voting? I thought we just, never mind.
I mean, we're here almost. So close. Good.
All right. Okay, up next, results of the 2024 community survey. Justin Tucker, the Assistant City Manager, will present this item. Have at it, Justin.
Thank you, Bobby, by the way. Round two, y'all. This is where I really love talking about our community. So every year, we conduct a community survey. And this community survey helps us understand the pulse of the residents on 24 questions from the 4 elements of our strategic plan, which are sound infrastructure, safe community, sense of place, and high-performing government. And in the staff report, we compared the results to the 2023 annual community survey. And for your information, the survey is available both English and in Spanish. Just like in the 2023 community survey, we did a random sample survey. We selected 1,400 households from each district for a total of 7,000 households. They were all invited. The participation window was between June 25th and September 30th, 2024, similar to 2023. We invited them by email 3 times and then sent out a mail flyer. 1,236 people completed the survey. For reference, last year we had 972, and in 2022 we had 700 respondents. So significant increase. That gave us about a 17.6% response rate and a 2.7% margin of error. This is also really good news because last year our margin of error was 3.1%. So we're getting much better at how we listen to our residents. Not only did we conduct this random sample survey, but we allowed other people who wanted to participate to provide their responses so we could listen to them. Those were publicized on the city's website and on social media. We had 232 responses last year and 640 responses this year. There's a picture on your screen of the location of our residents who participated in the random sample survey. And we mapped their responses to the question, how strongly do you support the statement Corona as a place to live? The positive responses were in green and the negative responses are in red. So we do these sorts of things to look to see if there are patterns in some of these responses there where we can allocate resources. But I wanted to show you as well that these respondents are well distributed throughout the city.
Mr. Tucker, really quick, before you move on, sorry.
Yeah.
Go back one slide. Thank you. So I just want to make sure, 1,400 random households by district and total completed surveys, 1,236. Do you have the total completed surveys by district broken down?
I don't think we report those out.
I don't see any red dots in District 3.
I'll show you where those respondents are on the 5th slide after the highlights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So here are some of the highlights. Probably one of the biggest takeaways for this is that there was a 27% increase in survey participation. That we're reaching more people through our surveying, and more people are participating, which I think is fantastic. Another key highlight is that there's consistent positive sentiments in key areas. When you go through some of these results, you'll see that many of these numbers have stayed pretty consistent. Where there are significant changes, which are changes outside of the margin of error, we saw an increased sense of neighborhood safety, a stronger support for Corona as a place to raise children, increased support for a variety and frequency of community events, and Corona's overall direction and quality of services. Those all improved. There was one decrease in one measure in their feeling and sense of community, and we can talk briefly about that. To Councilmember Daddario's question about the respondent demographics, these are the people who we surveyed each year. And just as a side note, we verified when we went to sample our residents, there were no participants this year who participated last year. So these are all brand new residents. So as is difficult to get to the 18 to 34-year-old demographic across all survey methods, but once again, we got about 5% of those. Older people are more likely to respond, so we got a larger increase there. On the unknown category, those people are also declined to state. They didn't want to tell us their age. Pretty standard response rate for males and females. Within the districts, we got a good representation across all of the districts. There were 25% of them who mailed in their survey where we couldn't match an address. But otherwise, this is well placed throughout the entire city. We did sample a little bit higher rate of Hispanic origin than in 2022, but a little bit lower than 2023. But we had 14% who decided to not declare whether or not they were of Hispanic origin. And then we sampled, our respondents were reasonably representative of the attached versus detached housing. It's easier to get to people who live in detached housing than it is to sample people who live in attached multifamily housing, just across the board in survey research. But we got a good representation of them.
That was a big jump from 22 to 24 of the difference for the attached housing.
It is. And there are a couple of factors that probably play into that. So we used a slightly different method in 2022 to get people to respond using mailers, but there's increased amount of suspicion about mail coming to people. That also plays against younger demographic folks. People in attached houses are harder to track down because they're much more mobile. And a mailer that gets sent one place may not be responded to. They're just harder to sample, but it is true. That's a place where we can see some improvement. Now getting to the questions. There were none of these questions in sound infrastructure that were significantly different than last year, but we can see consistently high numbers of people who rate our availability of paths and walking trails as excellent or good, our city parks as excellent or good. Essentially 3 out of 4 of our respondents say our city parks are excellent or good. Our recreation centers and facilities, 2/3 of the people surveyed said that those were excellent or good, and the bike lanes remained consistent 24 to 23. In terms of safe community, there was only one that was significantly different than last year, and that was, do you feel safe in your neighborhood during the day? That one went up by 4% over last year, but it was pretty similar to the 2022 number. And just to put that in context, 84% of your residents feel safe in their neighborhood during the day. I think that's a fantastic number. Consistent support for our efforts to reduce homelessness and our general public safety efforts. In terms of sense of place within the city, although it's not changed over time, 83% of our residents rate Corona as a place to live as excellent or good. That's a fantastic number. One that did that did increase beyond the margin of error was there was a 4% increase in people responding that Corona was a excellent or good place to raise their children. The one that did declined by 3%. That was the sense of community. That went from 62% last year to 59% this year, but it's trending towards what we sampled in 2022. So somewhere between 22 and 23, we have the number that we found this year. Otherwise, we have consistently strong positive scores across all of those other measures of sense of place. The one that did increase near the bottom was variety and frequency of community events, which increased by 4%. And so these numbers are all very strong numbers and reflective of a positive sentiment in the community.
Mr. Tucker?
Yeah.
Sorry, go back one slide.
Absolutely.
So the one that stands out to me is the openness and acceptance. So in 22, it was a 50% excellent, or 58%, and it's jumped significantly. Can you kind of give me a background on what that category actually means?
That's a great question. This is just a measure of how people tend to reflect diversity in their community. It would be difficult to tell you why that changed, except that sentiment was either measured off slightly in 2022 or has really changed that much. If you'll recall doing our branding efforts, when we went and did a lot of that community outreach, one of the things that resonated with people was that Corona really felt like a place where you could come from a different background and still feel welcomed, like you belong here, right? And I think that that's much more reflective in the survey results that we're getting over time.
I think that's a great, it's a great rating. It's a great increase too. And that's something that I can't speak for everybody up here, but that's something that I'm super proud of, that's a sentiment that people feel that they are welcome no matter who, what, where, why, or anything. So I think that's a great metric.
Thank you for pointing that out. I think that's a really good point. In terms of high-performing government, we have 5 metrics here. The value for services for taxes paid to Corona is less than half, but I think when we ask people whether or not they like paying taxes, they're always going to be consistently lower than we would want. But the two items that did have a significant increase this year beyond the margin of error, where the overall direction that Corona is taking, that increased another 3%. And if you look between 2022 to 23 to 24, that's a trend. It's not bouncing between all these different numbers, but that's significantly increasing. I think that's a good reflection of your efforts. The overall confidence in Corona government is very high. That's not a measure that we take lightly. Treating all residents fairly, also a very high score. And then there was another significant increase in the quality of services provided by the city of Corona. That jumped another 3%. Once again, that wasn't bouncing between 22 and 23 and 24, but a consistent trend upward. So all of these are things that we can be really proud of that reflect the efforts that you're doing here in the city. So I'm going to just talk briefly about some of the conclusions that we can draw. I think the biggest one for a lot of us is that there's a robust process to hear from a representative sample of residents about key issues over time. And prior to my employment here, that was one of the key questions that people would always ask is, what do people really think about what the city's doing? And many people might show up and speak, and they are absolutely crucial parts of our community, but there are many people who don't engage. And we've developed a system using very good methodologies to get to those folks who may not show up. As a subnote of that, in section 7 of the survey report, you'll see that we report the open survey results, those 640 people who opted in to participate in the survey, and we compare them to the scientific sample. And on average, they're 10% more negative than the results from the random sample. So just for your reference, you can see that in the back. That's pretty easily explained away by people who opt to engage in surveys voluntarily have extreme responses. Just on average, they're either very, very, very happy and they want to tell everybody, or they're really mad and they want to tell somebody. But if you go to Yelp, you find very few mediocre scores like, yeah, I went to this restaurant and it was a restaurant. Like, they're either bad or they're really good. And so those survey results in the open survey, we listen to those folks and we compare them to the scientific sample as well. In the conclusion also, we have really good positive sentiment scores in all the key areas. So I think that's a big takeaway. And then because we have this system to listen to our residents and to sample them, you should anticipate that change will occur, but the current efforts that we're undertaking now may not show up in perception data for some time. It takes a little bit of time for people to get familiar with what the city is doing, to feel the impacts of those changes. And so we have this process to listen to them over time. And that's pretty well established. So I am happy to answer any questions you all have about the 2024 community survey.
All right, thank you, Justin. Sylvia, are there any speaker cards?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for this agenda item.
Okay, with that, we'll close public comments. Tony, it's good. Wes is good. Casillas?
I was just going to say that there's a real benefit clearly to having a PhD on staff and having solid methodology for statistics. So thank you. That's it.
Salt Lake Steiner, what do you got?
Good, man.
Good? Okay. Justin, PhD Justin, good job. And with that, we will switch over to...
Is that Justin Tucker?
Justin the same. Justin PhD Tucker. All right, up next is the volunteer program update. Madeline Black, who has a parrot at her desk and is also the volunteer program coordinator, will present this item. Good luck, Maddie.
Thank you. Hello and good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Madeline Black. I am the volunteer program coordinator for the City of Corona. So what I do is I'm kind of a central referral system. I'm kind of a one-stop shop. People will come to me to find volunteer opportunities, and I work towards working with the departments and divisions to find placement. So I'm here tonight to provide you with an update on our volunteer program. Please note that this presentation is just for informational purposes. There is no ask tonight. We just want to keep you up to date with the impact this program has had within our community. Oh, there it is. Okay, so where does one start their search? We have a few ways depending on what kind of commitment you're looking for. I provide referrals through most communication platforms for the opportunities within the city. So let's say you're on our website and you're checking out how to volunteer. You'll find our web interest form that shows up as a direct email in my inbox. We also use a few different softwares our Civic Rec as an example to register our single day participants. So if you're interested in volunteering for that, you'll find a link for that on our website as well. You can also call me. That's my phone number and my email address. I'm also located at City Hall, and I am always open for visitors, as our mayor just pointed out. So if you have an idea about our current programs or something that we haven't thought about, I'm open to that. Let's chat. Come find me at City Hall. In the last year alone, I have completed 613 online referrals for the city's volunteer opportunities, and those are just the emails I'm sending. A referral is confirming availability of an opportunity within the city and connecting that candidate to the direct department or division. Here's the breakdown of the last year of these referrals if you're curious. I also receive unique requests that I've identified here as write-in requests. This could be a student searching for a volunteer internship within the city or someone who loves to knit winter caps and wants to find a location for those. So I help them connect their goals with the city services.
Was somebody looking to actually knit winter caps?
Yes, I actually just connected them to our homeless solutions team, and it's not the first time that's happened.
Really?
Yes.
I knitted a few last year. It's good.
Hook one, pearl two. All right, here we go.
Okay. So, volunteer orientation. So we've also formalized the Community Services Department and now the Corona Animal Shelters volunteer orientations through monthly events. So each of these events is curated to fit the needs for each department or the staff within them to make sure that we find great candidates, all the while streamlining the application process for each opportunity. As an example, we host a weekday morning orientation at the animal shelter and an evening weekday orientation for the Community Services Department, as they appeal to different crowds. The application process for both of these opportunities has now been standardized and implemented. I actually hosted the animal shelter orientation this morning. I'd love to show you what that looks like. So let's start off our grand volunteer tour at the Corona Public Library. So these are the volunteer opportunities I help oversee. Every Saturday morning at the library, you'll find our book cleaning crew. It's a group of teens that come in and just clean books. They can wear headphones and get the job done because you know it's needed. Also, we have a robust adult literacy services team where we have volunteers working with adults to reach their reading and writing goals. At our senior center, you'll find great volunteers hosting exercise classes. That's Taco Hori, our volunteer of the year, hosting one of her last classes for the senior center there. She turns 90 next month. Also at our Circle City Center, we host our brown bag grocery distribution program through volunteers. We have our adaptive services as well, and jumping into recreation, we have our youth sports coaches within our program. So we've got basketball, soccer, and youth volleyball. So we do have volunteers in all city facilities, such as City Hall through code enforcement, internships in the city manager's office. A great example of someone reaching out with an idea was this young man you see pictured here. He really wanted to volunteer and help seniors, so he's actually playing the piano every Tuesday for their senior lunch program, and they love him. That's Joshua Brown. Gotta give him a shout out. But we're also out and about in the city's public spaces. Our Corona Beautiful community cleanup events are incredibly popular. We host 10 events a year. Our Adopt a Park program is building. We are hosting 10 active partnerships right now. We have space for 2 more. Our Guided Hikes and Park Ambassador program is also building and developing this year. We've made some changes to those programs that our volunteers are pretty happy with. And we also work with organizations, businesses that have their own ideas. For example, we've worked with Amazon, Bank of America, that want to host their own community cleanup events. So I actually connect them and work with the park staff to facilitate those. I'm happy to share that this program is steadily growing as we improve upon our opportunities every year. I created this 3-year comparison of our program for your reference. Please note that these totals reflect our largest volunteer team, which is our community services, which includes long and short-term volunteer opportunities. So I forgot the word short here, apologies, but you'll see our first year as opposed to our third year, we've got some growth here. We're always looking for ways to put our name out there, and social media is the name of the game. Our volunteers love to see themselves represented in our videos and the content we put out. So I regularly partner with our communications team to create this awesome content where they can see themselves in these videos. We had 5 videos this last year, and those boasted 21,000 views. I'm also out there at as many of these events as I can, sharing city resources and swag. That's me holding a magnet. I'd love to talk about recognition. We have several practices in place to thank our great team of volunteers. So if you're a single-day volunteer participant, you can expect to snag a temporary tattoo, a sticker, and get that follow-up email with that group picture. We love to see those group pictures. Our formal recognition event has now been hosted all 3 years of our program. This program includes inviting volunteers with the +1, very important, after they have served 20 or more service hours in the fiscal year. So we thank them by providing food, entertainment, and a lot of thank yous in the form of certificates of recognition and gifts. These certificates are coming from our mayor's office, our county supervisor, our state assemblywoman, and our Congress member, just to name a few. We have a volunteer this year that I'd actually like to give a shout out to. She has 625 full days of service for the city of Corona. That's over 15,000 hours, so that's Miss Linda Scott. I think that deserves a round of applause as well. Okay, so this last year, we really wanted to know if we were thanking our volunteers in the ways that they wanted to be thanked in. So a survey was implemented, and we had about 1/5 of our volunteer team reply, which I think is pretty good. This survey was also offered in paper format for some of our not so tech-savvy volunteers. We know that there are school requirements and goals within educational merit, but it was amazing to see that the bulk of our volunteers are just doing it because they want to give back. So let's see here, I lost my train of thought here. We also noted in this survey that a certain generation of volunteers prefers a more formal event, and a certain generation of our volunteers prefer a more informal event. So we're actually going to be adding 2 smaller informal events this year at some of our largest volunteer facilities. We're envisioning a pizza party or an ice cream social at the library or our senior center. And I wanted to share that these changes are being appreciated by the team. This year's volunteer recognition event actually almost doubled our attendance. So what's next? We have plenty of successful events we're going to keep going strong with. As an example, Corona Beautiful 2025, which I'll share on the next slide. We're also working on marketing our self-guided volunteer opportunities, like our partnership with the Western Riverside Council of Governments through our neighborhood cleanup kits, so you can see pictured here. And push for more truly independent service opportunities in our Adopt-A-Park and Park Ambassador positions. We're eager to see growth and develop these positions to meet our community where they want to be when it comes to volunteering. So if you have feedback for me, if you'd like to help me improve our programs, I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to share my contact information in just a bit. So here is the Corona Beautiful 2025 first half of the events here. So we've got winter, well, we'll be cleaning up River Road. We're going back to the trails in February. We'll have our Arbor Day celebration at Promenade Park. We're hitting up Victoria Park for Earth Day. And we're going back to Border Avenue this year since we know that area needs some love. Looking at all these stats that I shared tonight, there's one number I really want you guys to walk away with. Using the resources and data that I have available, we were able to calculate the staff time equivalents of the contributions of our volunteer team. That's $125,000. So let me say that again, $125,000. That is almost $1 million. I'd like to take a moment to thank our team of volunteers just one more time for this level of contribution. Yeah, I think that deserves a round of applause. So thank you all for your time. Here's that contact information. I'm available if you guys have any questions.
All right, the great Madeline Black. Hang out for a second, Madeline, or well, Sylvia, are there any speaker cards?
Mayor, yes, I have one speaker card for this item.
Okay, Madeline, you got to move so the speaker, then you can come back. Welcome.
Hello, I'm here, so I thought I'd speak. My name's Alicia McCoy. I came up and spoke earlier. I actually work at Monster Energy here in Corona. I just wanted to share a thought. I really don't know if this is allowed. This is my first time here, but here I go. We have volunteer days off, and I just thought maybe it would be a good idea for, if we're looking for volunteers as a city, to reach out to like the local corporations and let them know of that we have volunteer opportunities here in the city. I know at Monster, the company pays for every employee to do a volunteer day off. So, and as a department manager, we actually look for opportunities. And if we were aware that there were local ones, then you might have a lot more volunteers. We have over, 3,000 employees. So anyways, just a thought. I know there's lots of companies and organizations, but I don't know if we all know that you guys have these volunteer opportunities at the city. So that's all.
Alicia, thank you for speaking. I know that some of the corporations do know about it, so it sounds like we just need to get the message out better, because most of the community cleanups that I've been at, the Amazon employees are there and the Starbucks employees are there for the same reasons that you mentioned. So yeah, it sounds like we could definitely tap in, to more resources in our community. So thank you for recognizing that.
You're welcome.
And Maddie, you and your team are doing a great job. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the volunteers that actually show up to help. That means a lot. Thank you.
I wanted to make some comments too, if I can jump in.
Well, with that, public comments are closed and Jackie comments are open.
I'm back.
Madeline, I just wanted to say that you're really thriving. Like, you're owning this project, you're owning this program, and it shows in the number of volunteers that are returning. As someone who has managed volunteer programs and projects, the first time people come out is, usually because they're self-motivated, but the second time and the returning times is because you've shown them appreciation, love, and professionalism, and that their time is really well used. So kudos to you. I also want to say that it's so awesome to see the hours quantified in dollar amounts, but one of the things that really stood out to me and that made an impact to me as a youth volunteering for Corona Beautiful, the original Corona Beautiful, was the fact that in the act of service, you're actually creating the intangible value of, bridging and building community. And so I just kudos to you. This is how we build community. So good job.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Casillas.
Wesley?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And again, I think I've seen you at every single event, and always with a smile on your face and a point to the donuts, which is greatly appreciated. And Jackie's spot on that it creates that connection, with everybody. And I think every single person I've met, or I always walk up and ask them, "Is this your first time?" Or how many of these we've been to? And always the people that react the first time say, they go, "Yeah, I'd never had any idea. This is really great." And then the next question is always, "Why are you going to come back?" And they say, "Oh yeah, of course." So I'm really happy to see that, but I love the idea of some self-directed things too, because I have people ask me all the time about, "Hey, how can I help?" And when we try and funnel everybody to an event, those are good because people want to do that. But at the same time, there's people that are picking up trash on their own, or they're doing all these things on their own, and and to give them a little bit of recognition and is I think will help that grow exponentially. So thank you so much for that, and I'm really looking forward to next year's report.
Thank you so much.
G-Dog?
Somebody has to say something negative, so I guess it's going to be me. In Corona, we have Corona clay. It is really hard to dig Corona clay when you're planting trees when they don't auger down far enough. And I know that that's not you, Madeline, that's directed to Mr. Cortez and his team for not augering far enough down at Fairview Park. And I'm still, my hands are still damaged from digging, but thank you. Other than that, you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you, Madeline.
Thank you so much.
Right. Steiner, do you want to talk about the tree holes or?
No.
Oh. Madeline, I think you're wonderful. And I ate some of Jim's candy and I shouldn't have. But Jim Steiner, soft gummy worm. So, Maddie, I looked at the numbers of your presentation, and I know you're sharing them broadly, but I hope you know they relate to you. And those numbers are the success of the hard work that you put into it. And I know all 5 of us are proud of you. I know everybody in this room is proud of you. I think all of Corona is pretty proud of you. And someday I'm going to learn how you're always so freaking happy. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
Okay. Legislative matters, none. Reports from boards and commissions. Receive and file the Library Board of Trustee report. Consider it received and filed. Right, Sylvia? Okay. I have to do this stuff. Doing the Lord's work up here. And eating candy. Planning and Housing Commission, 12.2.8, precise plan. 2023-07 application for the review of the site plan, architecture, landscape, and other features associated with the development of a 4,110 square foot automated car wash tunnel with 11 vacuum stalls. I wonder what the horsepower is on those. Gas station with 5 double-sided fuel pumps and a 3,725 square foot convenience store proposed on 1.40 acres. Oh, yeah. Located on the north side of 2nd Street, approximately 450 feet west of Buena Vista. I had 453 feet west of Buena Vista Avenue. Applicant Greens Development. Flip the page here. Miss Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public on this?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for this agenda item.
I'm shocked. Okay. Would my colleagues like to take no action or set the item for review? No action? You guys don't want to review the vacuums, huh? I heard they suck. Okay, take no action it is. Oh, will you take no action, Jim?
Don't worry about me.
It's getting late. 12.2.B. Conditional use permit, 2024-006 for a 4,100. Do I gotta read this again, Sylvia?
It does not have to be read, Mayor.
Oh, God. So just 12.2.B in all its glory. Gas station, car wash, C3 general commercial. Miss Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards for this item.
I'm amazed. Would any of my colleagues like to take no action or set this project for review? No action, no action. CS, what do you got? No action it is. Okay. You cool with that, Sylvia? All right. 12.3, receive and file the Parks and Recreations Commission report. The Boggs was introduced, the Halloween stuff, some hikes and other stuff. Sylvia, I consider it received and filed, yeah? Okay. 12.4, regional meetings, update from Council Member Tony Daddario on the Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority, the RCA meeting of October 7th.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple highlights. For the acquisition status report for the 2024 calendar year, we had a total of 16 parcels that we acquired, which included 13 acquisitions and 3 processed donations. The 13 acquisitions added approximately 1,994 acres, and the 3 donations added approximately 53 acres for a combined total of 2,047 acres added to the reserve. As of July 31st, 2024, staff is managing 29 active parcels. Let's see. This is a riveting discussion that we had on the crotches, bumblebee, and the MSHCP. It was riveting because apparently there is quite a process for which you get a or you get any critter or insect or bee or whatever to be added to the state list of endangered or threatened species. And so this was kind of a preempted discussion because in 2019, the California Fish and Game Commission started the process to put the crotches bumblebee on the endangered species list. There was a whole discussion about how the crotches bumblebee became the crotches bumblebee, which was riveting. Apparently there was a man from England whose last name was Crotch. Yeah. What? Yep, there you go. So, of course, I was more interested in how they became the crotches bumblebee than anything
I
else.
wondered the same thing. Last time I did something like this, it went on in the newspaper.
Right.
Good luck.
Yep. And then we also got they're no longer doing Species of the Month Club, which is really disappointing to me, but they're doing Reserve of the Month. And so they talked about the McElhinney Stimmel Reserve, which is a 365-acre reserve located in unincorporated Riverside County in the south central portion, east of the 215 between the cities of Menifee and... Did we lose, Councilman? McElhinney Stimmel. What did I say? That's what you said. Yeah, that's what it's called, the McElhinney Stimmel, right? Let's see. The cost of the lands totaled $6.6 million, with roughly $1.6 million paid by the State Wildlife Conservation Board and $5 million paid through federal Section 6 funding. The reserve features gently rolling terrain and a variety of habitats, including coastal sage scrub, grassland, riparian scrub, and seasonal pools. Several MSHCP-covered species have been documented on the reserve, including those the coastal California gnatcatcher, the northern harrier, burrowing owl, Bell's sage sparrow, as well as other. And the reserve also supports Parrish brittlescale and San Diego ambrosia. Can't even make these things up. This is actually the names. Yep. From the executive director report, Lake Elsinore acquisition, the staff closed escrow on a 21-acre property acquisition completed in Lake Elsinore. The property is part of the back basin efforts for the city using state grant funds. The property was acquired by the Bon Giovanni Construction Company and Phyllis LLC. Staff will continue with the back basin acquisition endeavors. And as you all know, RCA hosted the MSHCP 20th anniversary celebration on October 11th. That was held at the Hidden Valley Nature Center. That was a good time. And, and the event, this part was actually particularly interesting for me. The event concluded with the planting of a California black walnut tree. And you may ask yourself, why is that interesting to me? Oddly enough, my godfather owns a bunch of walnut trees, and so I know more about walnuts than probably anybody ever should. But the black walnut, as we all know, is a non-edible walnut. It's very poisonous. So please don't eat the black walnuts coming from a California black walnut tree at the Hidden Valley Nature Center. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
The old Santa Ana suckerfish wasn't on it, huh?
Nope.
Be damned. All right. Up next, update from Council Member Jack. Key Casillas on the Western Riverside Council of Governments WRCOG meeting of October 7th. Take it away, Casillas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm actually just going to submit my update to Ms. Edwards for the record, and in the interest of time, move on.
Oh, Steiner's never been more proud. Okay. Up next, Councilmember West Speak on Riverside County Transportation Commission, RCTC. He's looking into submitting his report.
I am looking into it. But I'm just going to say two things. One, that the interchange 6091-215 was named for the Joe Chavaloni Memorial interchange by Senator Roth. So I wanted to say thank you to Senator Roth for that. There was a final vote on the payoff of the TIFIA loan for the I-15 enterprise or I-15 express lanes. Why that's exciting is the fact that doing so will allow us to erase the bottleneck that we have at Calco, because up until this happened, no improvements were able to happen there because of the loan that was taken out by RCTC by the feds prevented anything that would jeopardize the revenue. So I asked about a year ago for RCTC to start pursuing that because any kind of improvement that we had planned there wouldn't be approved unless that was done. So I was very happy to see my colleagues support that. And the loan will be paid off with the existing savings that we have now, and hopefully to position additional funding for further down in that the lane project that will extend the toll lanes down to Lake Elsinore, moving the bottleneck more south, and people can stay off the city streets of Corona. That's it. I'll file the rest.
All right. Thank you, Wes. Up next, city attorney's reports and comments. Mr. Dean Derleth, you have your hand raised? Good. Okay, up next, city manager Jacob Ellis. I see you're back from Wichita, Kansas, where you were participating in the Backpacks for Hunger. Do you have anything to report out?
Nothing further, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I think people of Kansas are thankful. City council member reports and comments. Tony? Wes?
I just have one, which is I'm going to be appointing Justin McBride as my appointee to the Parks and Recs Commission. Justin and his wife Taryn are residents of District 5 since 2009. They have 2 grown children that live in Corona as well. He and his wife, fun fact, they are graduates of the Citizens Academy in 2022, and I believe that he would be the first person to go through the program and then be appointed to a commission, so I'm very excited to see how he does. I think Dr. Tucker said he did a pretty good job. Hopefully he paid attention. He is currently a program manager for a technology integrator here in Corona, overseeing multiple projects for education, aerospace, healthcare, and in 2022, he successfully convinced his company to maintain a physical location in Corona to better serve his customers in Southern California, living the live-work Corona model in real life. One notable project he managed was the technical build-out of the City of Hope location here in Corona. Addition to his professional roles, Justin serves as the Vice President of IT for the California Gang Investigators Association, providing post-training for law enforcement on gang violence. He's also been involved in the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach for over 35 years, leading as the lead hospitality ambassador for the past 25 years. With the Grand Prix, Justin and his staff of 40 volunteers work directly with sponsors and hosts to host private parties to ensure people have the best experience. In fact, he was featured in an article for the Long Beach Press Telegram where they called him Mr. Party Man. And it's funny, when you meet him, you don't initially get that experience, that feeling that he's Mr. Party Man, but I saw him in action at the Long Beach Grand Prix, and people are pretty darn happy. So I think he's going to do a great job on the commission, and I look forward to him going through the process, and hopefully I can get your support for his nomination.
Did you want to make the motion, Wes?
I would, and I did.
Oh, I'll second.
Sorry.
Councilmember Speak.
5-0. Good job, Wes.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Jackie, any comments? No, you're good. Jim? Okay. If you don't mind, I'd like to be serious for a moment. Tonight's city council meeting will be adjourned in honor of Annette Luna. Annette was the wife of longtime Corona employee Dominic Luna. Dominic has been a beloved employee of Corona Utilities for 20 years. He and Annette were together for 20 years, married for 5. Together they have 7 children, 17 grandchildren. Annette passed away on September 25th. Our thoughts and prayers are with Dominic and his family during this difficult time. And Dominic's having a hard time with his family, and he's our family. So we stand with Dominic and Annette tonight, and we close in her honor. Thank you.